Next on America's Day of the Races, live action returns to Aqueduct, and we'll bring you the final four on the Friday card. In the featured seventh race, Pharaoh's Heart returned off the bench for a dominant 6-year-old debut. She'll get a tougher group to try and repeat against this afternoon. At Oaklawn Park, graded stakes winner Butterbean getting ready to return for her 4-year-old season. Her resume, it is a standout against this bunch, but the long layoff remains a question mark. And can Last Samurai produce more magic at Oaklawn? Dwayne Lucas has his 5-year-old in top form. Guys, a 4th stakes win and 3rd graded stakes win in Hot Springs on Saturday. All that and more coming up on our Friday edition of America's Day at the Races. It's brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Welcome to those watching on FS2. Greg Wolf, Andy Serling. We got a bunch of crew all over the place going to join us here shortly in a little bit as well. Looking forward to this card. Looking forward to a big weekend coming up, too, with some big graded stakes at Oaklawn. We have the Cicada here in New York.
And I saw what you did there. You started out by saying we have the final four. You had that little NCAA reference. You're really on your game. I was going to say off the layoff, but you actually worked yesterday while I was home watching the NCAA games and a little bit of the America's Day at the Races show. I agree. Good racing coming up. Looking for those stakes this weekend. Looking forward to all the action and glad to be back here with you guys.
And that 7th race, we touched on Pharaoh's Heart there in that open. Good race. I thought it was a contentious group here. 1-turn mile, this allowance optional claiming field. Big win in the comeback for Michelle Nevin. Can she do it again now?
That's really the question. And for me, I liked her last time. I got the money with her. Do I want her at a shorter price? And I've already got a disagreement with David Aragon, the morning line maker. Even though he's right 90% of the time and I'm maybe right 10%, I've disagreed with him. I think she'll be favored. I think she should be. She runs this race. Would you agree she's going to be extremely hard to beat?
I would. I do like Mama's Got to Run quite a bit, but if she repeats this race, it's going to be very difficult.
You know, she's a horse that we have a real history with, especially in this show, because I think she was a big part of a pick 5, a big pick 5 at Oaklawn last year. And I believe she may have been scratched the gate. Actually, I seem to remember something with you and I being here very late in the day.
3 to 5, I think.
And I'm not even sure we were able to stay for the race. I think we had to leave, and it ended up blowing up.
Wow.
She is a horse that's had her share of issues. Michelle Nevin, though, seems to have her back to her top form. And her top form, pretty good.
Good memory, yeah. I recall that.
Remember that, right?
Yes.
It was a crazy situation.
Was a complete standout and then did not run, and I think got beat next time out.
Yes, correct. Well, she has gait issues.
Yeah.
And last time she didn't have them.
So that's the feature at Aqueduct. Meanwhile, feature at Oaklawn, Butterbean. Do you believe just absolutely towers over this competition?
Well, no. The problem with Butterbean is not her talent. It's that she has no speed, and it doesn't appear to be much pace in the race. That's my concern with her. We'll see what Paul thinks.
Speedometer looks like going to be the speed of this group. Let's bring in Paul LaDuca for more, live from Hot Springs. Paulie.
Yeah, when you get to that race, I'm kind of in agreement with Andy. I mean, when you look at Butterbean, this horse rattled off after he won his maiden race. He rattled off a couple in a row, and there's a couple worries in here when it comes to Butterbean. And there might be a couple positives, too. The couple worries is his 2 giant numbers are at Prairie Meadows. His other numbers are just ordinary. Number 2, he does get Lasix. He didn't get Lasix last time out. And ever since he did get Lasix, it kind of turned around her career. But she does come from way out of it.
There's some technical difficulties. We'll try and get Paulie back here in a moment.
We need Paulie.
We do. We can't handle Oaklawn without. He's been great at Oaklawn for us all meet long, no question.
Yep.
Obviously, that feature race, Butterbean going to be very tough, but Traverse is one, the 5, who looks to have some talent and ability. And we mentioned Speedometer is going to be the speed.
Yeah, all I know is I'm still stinging because you and Maggie were both a little against Smile Happy yesterday. I was way against him in that spot at a short price.
I'm a huge fan.
I am too.
Yeah.
I just thought at that price at a mile and 1/8 coming off, he was a little vulnerable. He wasn't, and we were wrong, so I don't want to knock another Ken McPeak horse off a layoff, that horse, and Kenny seems to have him ready to run off layoffs.
He is unleashing just an endless string of 4-year-old returnees.
Well, they're all prepping for Epsom. Royal Ascot and Epsom for Kenny some stage.
He goes in some interesting spots,
some
and
shots.
it does work sometimes, doesn't it?
He is a man that is not afraid to lose, and you got to respect that.
Take a look. Today's action coming up is presented by Claiborne Farm. As mentioned, we're going to have the Late Pick 4 coming up. We're 19 minutes away from the first leg of the sequence. We're fast here in South Ozone Park at Aqueduct. Track condition, actually it is fast in Hot Springs, so that is fast on the main track at Oaklawn. And race 4 is approaching the 11-minute mark to post. You can play all the races by getting signed up and started with Jose Lascano. He's wearing green that I should have been wearing today.
I spoke to
really
Jose
bad.
about this today. I've told him I think his career is completely turning around. Not that he wasn't doing well before it, but he started. We're advertising for us. And
This is
he won
going to
the
get
Gotham.
him big business.
He won the Gotham. I mean, it's onwards and upwards, Jose.
NairaBets.com. That's where you get signed up and started. Bonus 200. Code to use for new members. And bet any track, anywhere, anytime. We'll get to that first leg of the Pick 4 when we come back. Downtown Mischief, pretty good start to the career. Perfect 2 for 2 for Linda Rice. Lady Sheila Stable. And Jose, can she keep it going in the feature on Saturday from New York? We'll have a preview coming up.
A Grade 1 winner of nearly $2 million, Silver State hails from the sire line of legendary Claiborne stallion Danzig. And his second dam is full sister to Kentucky Derby winner Monarchos. After winning the Oaklawn Handicap, Silver State defeated Knicks Go in the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap. Now his first foals have arrived. Grade 1 winner Silver State, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on America's Day at the races, we got the Cicada on Saturday. What a superstar. First filly in American racing history to be awarded consecutive championships at the ages of 2, 3, and 4. She was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 1967.
I always love when we run this. Now, do you say cicada, I say cicada? Or is it cicada? Or is it one of those words that goes both ways? I'm not sure. Tomato, tomato.
Phrasal, I don't know.
No.
If you watch the show
I love that we
yesterday.
run this race and we get to talk about her because she was an amazing, amazing horse. And I love the fact that we have these stakes named for horses like Cicada, who was an amazing racehorse that a lot of people just don't know about.
Beldame broke Kelso's track record for 9 furlongs at Aqueduct.
He was a fraud, Kelso. He only won the Jockey
One
Gold
good
Cup
year.
5 times or something. I think she finished third in the Travers, the Jaipur right-hand Travers, but I'm not sure. She might have.
I did have it. I didn't bring it up.
That's it.
Here's a look at the
You're
field.
done.
We talked about Downtown Mischief. It was started out 2 for 2 for Linda Rice, Lady Sheila Stable. Both 6 furlong sprints. She's been impressive. She's moved forward. She has the biggest speed figure of anybody last time out.
Are you interested to see how Midtown Lights, the second place finisher in this race, does in today's 6th race? And is that something that might be a slight indication
Yeah.
how you feel about this horse because she ran so well? It was a wet track. She's good. I'm going to tell you something. I think she's going to have her hands full with the Indiana bred breaking to her inside.
Do you?
Alex Ashard coming in to ride. And I think she's good downtown Mischief. But I think it's going to be a very good battle. We don't get enough battles, Greg, between New York breds and Indiana breds. What better time to have it than during the NCAA tournament?
Exactly. Yeah, regional showdowns
Yeah.
here. That's hot little thing. She's won those 2 races, including that big figures you said off track, but against New York bred company too.
Yeah. I think
So-
she's good. I mean, I'm not knocking her. I just think the other one might be really good too.
Yeah. We're going to have it for you on Saturday. Race 9 on the card. Back to live action. And race 4. Approaching the 6-minute mark to post. Mile and a 16th. Allowance non-winners at 2 life. We have a 3-5 favorite in King Ottoman. Steve Asmussen, Christian Torres meets leading rider. And a horse who the last time seen second in a grade 3 in the Oklahoma Derby.
Yeah, this is a tricky race because obviously that kind of number is going to win it in other races, but the Aspen Barn doesn't crank them up off layoffs. But they have another runner that's 1 for 15 with 5 seconds. Where do you go if you try to beat King Ottoman?
Well, yeah, I mean, Caw Cab, very disappointing, I thought, last time out. Hard to get around that.
Well, the one thing I'll say was that Caw Cab was 3 wide against a gold rail. That was that day, remember, when like 5 or 6 horses won and the rail was really strong. So this horse was wide that day, but in reality, so was the other Asmussen horse that was in that race. And it's come back with 2 weaker performances, but actually 2 better performances from a figure standpoint on sloppy tracks.
The one went by CJ Storm, huge price, and here's Rocking Rocket.
Ran the best figure that she's ever run last time on a sloppy track.
D. Wayne Lucas, maiden breaker, came at Oaklawn against softer. The 4, 10 gauge, Asmussen with his son.
I think this horse is in terrific form and is a dangerous player, even though he just doesn't seem to win.
Bucktown, dirt debut, it came sprinting, and it was a win at Tampa.
He's kind of the most intriguing horse in the race because he really ran well. I didn't beat that much, and he's going to have to improve, and they have a trainer switch, but not a private purchase.
King Ottoman, here's the 3-5 favorite, son of Curlin.
He's got the names, he's got the races there. He's the one to beat, but I'm going to try to beat him with Caw Cab.
And there is Caw Cab, 5-1 here. Santana Jr. riding for Brad Cox.
Yeah, I'm going to say that he was way against the track last time, out of position on a speed bias, inside speed bias track, and his race 2 back gives him a chance to win. I'm going to take a small shot with him, not in love.
All right, can Cab come back, or is it all about this 3-5 favorite? Paulie, so sorry we lost you earlier there, but we got you back.
Yeah, it's having a little bit of difficulties with talking about the Butterbean race. I think that's going to be an interesting race. We'll get to that feature a little later on. When you get to this race, yeah, you look at the racing form and you're like, gosh, King Ottoman really looks good in here. And then you look at the rest of the racing form and you're like, okay, who's really going to control this pace? Who's going to go to the front end? Is Caw Cab? I kind of agreement with Andy. At first, I did not like Caw Cab. Then I went and watched the replay, and he did get hung out wide most of the way. And, you know, now to Ricardo Santana, I think this horse could fire a big shot. Now, King Ottoman hasn't been seen, but has been working gangbusters at Fairgrounds. Very interesting. They couldn't find a race there, and Steve Asmussen brings this horse here. I will say this. I haven't seen Steve use Christian Torres a lot this meet. I mean, he's been using Ricardo or Isaac Castillo, so he's putting Christian Torres aboard King Ottoman. So I get it. My long shot's a 3. I mean, Rockin' Rocket, you look at this colt, you know, since they put the blinkers on, has shown a little bit of speed. I think could be forwardly placed with Cabrera. Bucktown's very interesting. He looked really, really fit, but he also looked like a sprinter to me. I mean, and he might show some speed, which might set up for a horse like 10 gauge here or there. But I do think the 3 can run a bang-up race at 7-1. I don't trust King Ottoman. In no way he should be 3-5, but he's the horse to beat. But I'll take a tiny bit of a shot with a 3.
All right, Paulie, thanks. So Rocking Rocket, 8-1. D. Wayne Lucas, he really has come alive at this meet. I mean, he's got some we're going to see one of his star horses in his stable tomorrow. It's going to be one of the favorites in the Essex. Secret Oath comes back off the bench, runs big. Here's another potential upsetter for him.
And I sense a very beautiful friendship starting between Paulie and Dwayne. You know, I see the two of them sort of going on the road together. I really do.
I could see it.
Really
that'd be good
blossom.
for our show. It'd be good for racing.
It would be great for racing. I mean, can you imagine Paulie and Dwayne together? I can't, but it would be incredible.
A lot of stories to share there.
One of the, I don't know, problems, one of the situations you're facing at Oaklawn, they've had very bad luck with the weather. We've got an enormous amount of rain. It feels like, I'm probably wrong, but it feels like about 50% of their cards have been wet tracks. So you're looking at a lot of horses that have form on wet tracks, and when you have a horse like this who improved so much, first time on a sloppy sealed track, well, his second time, but you know, such a big improvement, is it an aberration because of the wet track? Because I mean, that figure of his last time, I don't know what numbers the numbers you're looking at on Buyers and Timeform US. This horse improved 10 lengths, 15 lengths. So I'm not sure what you do with that.
Well, let's take a look at the 1-2 favorites. So here's King Ottoman. Off since September of last year. It was a runner-up finish to Rattle and Roll. Again in the Grade 3 Oklahoma Derby. Trying to get that sorted for you here. And wouldn't think many concerns with this barn off the bench if this horse has the talent.
Well, I don't like betting the Asmussen barn with routers on the dirt off the bench at short prices because I feel one of the keys to his success is he doesn't wind them up to win. He wants to win. He's probably expecting to win here. But I also don't think he's looking at this as his major goal. And the other thing about him is that last figure, the 97 Buyer, was at Remington Park. And listen, he lost to a good horse in Rattle and Roll. Speaking of Ken McPeak.
It's a bit of an aberration.
Good horse was third, best actor. But it's an aberrant figure based on his other Buyer figures. So am I supposed to think he's really an 80 to 87, which doesn't make him any kind of favorite to win this race? Or is he really that 97? And we talk about one-number horses. And at this price off a layoff, I couldn't gamble. That's all I'm saying.
You will get burned off one-number horses more often than not. So here it is. We finally got it. Again, this was the last time he was seen. Rattle and Roll winds up your winner in here. He put in a big run, and by far biggest figure, as you said, he's ever run.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to knock him. It's not a question of knocking. I think it's a realistic question to ask. Because if you're looking at Buyer figures, even Timeform US, that race sticks out like a sore thumb. Who is the real King Ottoman? Because he'll have to be that real King Ottoman to justify those kind of odds going a route off a layoff.
Let's bring in Jonathan Kinchin. JK, short price off the bench with Asmussen. What do we do here?
Yeah, look, you guys know I'm the president of the betting on a 3 to 5 shot fan club, and I have no interest in this horse in here. Andy brings up a great point. That number does kind of stick out a little bit, and when that situation happens, sometimes you can just kind of put a line through it, and then his numbers look very similar to other horses in here that we will talk about that I do like. The other thing I want to know about King Ottoman, it took him 4 races in his career to win. It makes me think that maybe he's kind of got to train himself, kind of get himself going, go through some training to kind of get into that race day fitness. I don't trust this horse at all. The 7 Caw Cab, I mean, you can't have a better pedigree than this, being a half to Midnight Bourbon and Gervin. I mean, that's being by Curlin. That's outstanding. I have no problem. I wouldn't talk anyone off, but I think it's a little bit interesting. The 410 gauge, it's a stablemate of the 3 to 5 shot. I've always thought that, Steve Asmussen's not trying to waste races for horses. He's not going to throw them in races with 3 to 5 shots that he trains. He doesn't think they have a shot. I think 10 gauge does have a shot. I would play the 4 or the 7 here, trying to beat the 6. My official pick will be the 4.
See how it plays out. Huge favorite, King Ottoman. First start back since September. His 4-year-old debut coming up. The 6 horse with Christian Torres, the meet's leading rider. Let's go to Jim Byers for the call.
They're in the gate. And they're off. A little hop for King Ottoman at the start there. Nothing serious. Rocking Rocket putting ahead in front early on. CJ Storm is going to test him early. 10 Gauge is going to tuck in just off of them. He's racing in third, Cawcab fourth, Bucktown is fifth, and King Ottoman, the light gray, trails the field as the sextet curves on to the backstretch. It's McKenna Anderson and CJ Storm with the lead by a length to Rocking Rocket. And now up on the outside, Cawcab is moving aggressively into third. King Ottoman was trying to go up in there as well. Now he's going to have to settle in between runners up the backstretch with 10 Gauge in the white sleeves just to his inside. 10 Gauge, Cawcab, and King Ottoman in a clump there as we have a solitary leader with a half mile to go, and that is Rocking Rocket, and he is jetted off, and he leads it by 5 or 6 from CJ Storm, 10 Gauge, Cawcab. King Ottoman is now in behind horses here, just inside of Bucktown as they advance around the turn. Rocking Rocket, David Cabrera with the lead by some 8 lengths here as they go midway on the turn. Then CJ Storm. King Ottoman is in the clear on the outside. He's moving with Cawcab now. And those two jointly gaining quickly on the tiring front runner, Rocking Rocket, and King Ottoman has swept up 3 wide and taken over the lead. Cawcab is now having to angle outside of him, but has been left 3 lengths back in second. 10 Gauge to the outside is third. King Ottoman, not the smoothest of journeys, but he has come back a winner and draws clear over another son of Curlin, 4 lengths back, Cawcab, then 10 Gauge, and well back to Bucktown fourth.
King Ottoman, he was ready to roll against this group off the bench. Successful return to the races for his 4-year-old debut.
Strangely run race with the Wayne Lucas horse Rockin' Rocket running off like a rocket and just had nothing left. Nice performance, a little bit of trouble early, but got a good pace. But Steve had King Ottoman ready, and he ran well. Bucktown ran okay for third, by the way. Proved effort by him.
Even money in the end on your win. He was odds on for most of the wagering in there. Back to New York, and our post parade for race 5 coming up. Here's Open Till Midnight at 13-1.
Open Till Midnight was very unfortunate to lose last time, but that was against weaker. Does come to a new barn though.
Off John Tom Morley barn. Trevor McCarthy at 5-2.
He was hurt by the scratches because 2 speeds came out of a relatively paceless race, and while he can win, the dynamics may not favor his running style.
There's Achilles heel with Manny Franco for Rudy Rodriguez.
His Achilles heel is his running, 1 for 18. He's not fast enough, and he doesn't have any speed.
Norgay down to 2-1.
He's the biggest beneficiary of the scratches. Without those two, Jason Hueyas' job is to just send to the lead, and this track has been kind inside speed.
And you say it all the time with him. He is aggressive, and he will go when he has the opportunity. Clash AJ at 11-1.
He would be an outsider in here. This is a tough spot.
I'm surprised by this. Are you? At 2-1?
I like the 8 legendary lure, but I also made my picks before the scratches. And with the scratches, I would never take 2-1 on this horse. I thought he'd get a better price. But I do think he's an interesting horse taking a big drop down.
4-year-old debut coming up, trained by Bill Morey. Dylan Davis rides. Let's bring in for the first time today, Maggie Wolfendale.
And Greg, we'll take a look at the horse who was taking all the money. And as Andy said, he looks to be dynamically advantageous in this spot. And that's number 6, Norgay in here. He's a horse that the only time I saw him not getting out is going back to that win 3 back, which he was on the front end. So it looks as though he might be able to do that. But again here today. But he does have the propensity to get out. And looking at the equipment on him today, actually wasn't in the paddock for his last 2. And when he won, he was wearing just a regular snaffle bit, and that was it, and a pair of short cup cheater blinkers. Took the blinkers off last time too, and they're just running him with a straight rubber snaffle, which is about the lightest bit you can get. So not giving the rider too much leverage. And again, it's probably fine in this race because he does look to be the lone speed, but I would just like a little bit more control on a horse who does have that propensity. Looking at number 3, Afjan in here, as Andy said, probably hurt by the dynamics today. And his old Afjan self, just really quiet, but physically, I think he looks better. It was a funny discussion with my husband, and I sent me this long list of videos of horses training back in February. And he's like, doesn't Afjan look good? I was like, he looks okay. And I thought the same thing in the paddock, just his weight and his coat wasn't great. he has moved forward. Weight and coat and flesh, he looks better, just healthier looking overall. And furthermore, last time, I think he was against the track. We saw the apprentice rider on him where she launched this big move around the turn while going 5 wide on a track that was kind to inside speed, and that's exactly how things played out with All About the Money on the inside wiring that race. As we'll move on to the outside with number 8, Legendary Lore. I have no notes on this horse. I don't know him very well at all. And the last time we saw him was mid-December. He comes back off a bit of a layoff, and he is washed out. It's a little bit warmer, but nobody else looked like that in the paddock or in the prelims out on the racetrack. And while he looks physically fit and well-conditioned, he's just not making the best of impressions. I like him on paper. There's reasons to like him, as Andy said, and the fact he's showing up for a tag for the first time. But once I saw him, I kind of looked the other way, Greg.
All right, reasons to play against as we get set for this pick 4 coming up.
Maggie's absolutely right about the 3-horse being against the track last time. The winner didn't wire, but it did come up the inside, and the inside was good. The problem is you have to go back to the race 2 back when this horse actually was with the racetrack. It was kind of a speedy, but it was an inside day, and that race completely fell apart. The winner circled the field, and Matty Oliver gave this horse a great ride coming up the inside. It is a positive rider change to Trevor McCarthy, but Matty has ridden this horse well. But from what Maggie's saying about the 8, I want no part of this horse at 2-1. And at similar prices, that would make me lean towards the 3 if you want a closer. Though I think the 6 has too much of an edge. I wouldn't bet against that horse.
Yeah, Norgay, I'm with you. The 6 here at 5-2. Jason Weyes, we'll see if he can take advantage of here and be aggressive as we get set for this pick 4 coming up. There's Open Till Midnight, who inherits the rail, stepping up after just missing against softer 25,000 non-winners of 2. Favorite steps in, Afjan. Let's go upstairs. Chris Griffin to kick off this pick 4 on the Friday card from Aqueduct.
Left to load. Norgay goes in. Clash AJ. Legendary Lore to the outside. All in line. All set. And they're off. Breaking a little awkwardly, Open Till Midnight, but did break quickly. Kind of broke inward, and now Open Till Midnight's got the lead. Afshan is up with the early pace as well, and here comes Norgay. Wyas just took a look back as now Afshan is trying to split rivals and challenge for this lead. In behind them comes Achilles Heel, who's going to be in the 4th spot as they come out of the chute. It's a moderate pace early. Legendary Lore is up there with that leading group, and the trailer, late running Clash AJ. They work up the backstretch 23-4, an easy opening quarter here. It's Open Till Midnight, who's a neck in front. Afshan is now in the clears, in the 2 path with a tight hold. It's Norgay who's progressing forward as well from 3rd. In behind them, Achilles Heel and Manny Franco looking for a seam. Might move towards the outside here as they approach a half-mile left to go. Legendary Lore is still there, and Clash AJ at the back. They work to the half-mile pole and into the far turn, 47-4, and they start to turn up the pressure now. Open Till Midnight is still there. It's Open Till Midnight. Afshan has been there the entire journey. Same can be said for Norgay, who's 3 wide. Tipping off the rail is Achilles Heel, who's under a full drive, is not cutting into the margin yet. Clash AJ in the purple silks is starting to save ground, makes a move to the inside of Legendary Lore. Norgay has taken the lead. It's Norgay who's on cruise control right now, reaches a quarter mile left to go, and now Norgay gets the cue in 1 minute 13 seconds flat. Afshan is in for the fight down towards the inside and just making up moderate ground up on the outside is Achilles Heel, who's just grinding away. It's Norgay in front. Norgay gets over to the rail, is trying to fend him off. Here comes the run from Afshan, who just tipped out there, and that impeded Achilles Heel a touch. But Norgay is clear. Norgay will get the victory. Tight photo here for second. Maybe Achilles Heel over Afshan. Then came Legendary Lore in 1 minute 39.04 seconds.
Well, Norgay actually wound up 3rd and wide early. Bet down to favoritism in here. Did not matter. He gets the win.
Jason Weyes knew what he was doing, I guess. And, you know, in a lot of ways, I credit Trevor McCarthy, and I would guess that Tom Morley had something to do with it, to be aggressive with Afshan, because he realized if I'm not aggressive with this horse and Norgay is able to control, I can't beat him. And you look at the way the race played out, he's right. Because imagine if they just let Norgay sort of waltz around the racetrack. Afshan wasn't going to run him down. He took his best shot. Unfortunately, when one horse gets preferred running style, and the other horse has to be taken out of his game, he's at a disadvantage. And Norgay gets the job done, and a nice job by Jason.
3, 6, and 8 all went off at 2-1, but it was Norgay who was the slight post-time favorite here to start this pick 4.
Let's give Marcelo Arenas a little bit of love too. Nice to see him get the win as well. Good guy.
Yeah, owns this one as well.
Yep.
Claim for $20,000 off of David Jacobson.
Favorite.
And now gets him into the winner's circle.
And you said to me, favorite. They can't fool the public around here.
Yeah. Except in the last race. 6, 4, 3,
We weren't on
8.
for that one, but we didn't like the 2-5 that lost.
We'll have these prices for you when we come back. We'll set the stage for the 6th as well, and more action coming up from Oaklawn. Stick with us. Just getting started.
Here comes Malathon. Here comes Clariere on the outside, and it's going to be Clariere. Nest, much the best. She won by better than 10 lengths.
And Elite Power gets up to win the sprint. Outside it's Malathon coming to the wire. Who's it going to be? Here's the wire. Oh, the wish has come true. That one's for you, Cody.
The Kentucky Derby Bankroll Builder is back at Naira Bets. Bet a $50 win bet on a selected Derby prep and get $20 for your Derby Bankroll, win or lose. Opt in each week to play at NairaBets.com. The Cross Country Pick 5 combines the best racing from New York with top races from around the country in one bet. Find it in your track menu and play every Saturday. Races are posted weekly at Naira.com/crosscountry.
It's a domineering display by the ultra-talented McKinsey.
McKinsey Preservationist, Vino Rosso and Yoshida. McKinsey's in front. McKinsey, they've done it. McKinsey has it by 2.
It's McKinsey in a dominant performance. Pure class in the Malibu.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
Back with you on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage. It's brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. Norgay sitting off the pace under 7-pound apprentice Jason Hues rolls to victory as the slight 2-1 post-time favorite.
Yep. Stable to get it done, just in the right situation. You know, another one of those horses, Greg, that took forever to break his maiden, but he got his maiden broken a few starts ago, and he finds his second win now in his 16th start. And he was claimed out of that race by Marcelo Arenas, who's quietly, his horses have been running well.
And that 3-horse, Trevor McCarthy. Thank you, Richard Migliori. He's keeping an eye on things for us. Yeah, drifting out and out and out into that 4-horse, but did not get by that horse. So might have been a situation of a DQ, but Achilles heel gets by him late in the stretch.
Achilles heel got a pretty good trip and still had trouble getting by that horse.
Back to Oaklawn. What do you make of this horse going forward in his four-year-old campaign here, King Ottoman?
Well, I mean, you want to see what kind of figs come back. You always want to see, but you can't not be happy by that. I mean, yeah, he got a nice pace to run at, but this wasn't a bad field, and he was pretty dominant. Steve had this one ready. Looking around a little in the stretch, he was ready to go. We'll see where he ends up. Hey, listen, right now, and I'm not saying he's going to be a stakes horse by any stretch, and he may be, may not be. There's a lot of room for horses in that older horse stakes division. It's not like it's a division filled with killers, especially after the way Taba ran over in Saudi. Now, obviously, he can come back and run very well, but, I mean, we lost most of the good horses from last year.
It does seem, yeah, there's a lot of replenishing to be done in the older horse division. Maybe this horse could be part of the picture going forward. We're going to take a timeout. When we return, could he win on Saturday if he just came back right off the bench, Whitmore, tomorrow?
No, he could not beat that field. In his best, he would be very competitive there. That's a fun field.
Come on, just give me a yes.
You
We'll
love
be
Whitmore.
back. We'll talk Whitmore when we return.
Here's Whitmore. Here's Whitmore. Here's Whitmore. Here's Whitmore striding forward for the lead in the final furlong of the Breeders' Cup Sprint. What a day in the career of this 7-year-old. Whitmore and Ron Ortiz Jr. have won the Breeders' Cup Sprint.
Great moment for Ron Moquette and company, and this horse in his 4th try getting that Breeders' Cup Sprint victory.
He was just one of those horses that always showed up and ran well. Frequently wasn't quite good enough to win against some of the better horses, but he managed to get lucky when City of Light got a terrible trip in the Forego. I think may have been City of Light's only loss that year and beat him. And he was the right place, the right time under a great ride by Ron Ortiz with a nice win in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. It's kind of like a reward for a great career.
And the Whitmore, renamed in his honor, going to be run on Saturday. Chris Hartman looks like he has a strong hand in the race. He's got a nice 1-2 punch of the closer, Tejano Twist, and the speedster edge to edge, but probably not going to be the quickest in this race. He has won from stalking before. Can he do that tomorrow?
You know, it's really a question. Obviously, he's one of a number of horses that have really stepped forward for Chris Hartman, but he's coming out of a 4-horse field where he was able to just walk along on a super slow pace and beat a nice horse in CZ's Rocket. But now he's in a race, as you say, that's loaded with speed, and he's going to have to run a lot harder if he wants to be in front. If not, he'll have to rate. And as you say, he has rated before, but I feel like if he's the favorite and here he's vulnerable, it's a really fun race, though.
It is. It appears there are two quicker, much quicker horses to his outside in Pirate Rick and Cogburn.
Oh, yeah. They're quick. Pirate Wick, we're familiar with here.
Yes. Getting to the front is going to be a very difficult task for him, but we'll see if he can stalk and win. And, of course, the other half of that Chris Hartman duo is the horse is going to be coming from off the pace here in Tejano Twist with more. Let's go to Paula Duca. All right, we'll try and get that resolved again with Paulie in a moment. Tejano Twist, if he gets that pace set up, is he good enough to win tomorrow?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think it's a super competitive race, and I think it's one of those races where assuming the field stays intact, I want to play it for the race to come apart a bit, and I want to keep an open mind and see what the prices are, because I think there's a number of horses that have a chance to win there. It's a fun race.
All right, let's get back to Paul. I think we got that resolved. Paul.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah, we were talking about Tejano Twist. And the reason why I was talking about Tejano Twist, I was actually standing next to Steve Asmussen, and he was, after that last race, when he ran second to Gunite. Gunite came home in about 11 and change, so I don't think Tejano Twist really hung that day. Gunite just took off. Now, the issue with Tejano Twist is the gate. But it might not be a hindrance to him with a lot of speed in this race if it does develop. We've noticed here at Oaklawn that horses and jockeys do send a little bit harder than other racetracks, and it looks like there is going to be some speed going on. But can Tejano Twist come from that far back? In very, very good form for Chris Hartman, who does have edge-to-edge that could maybe get to the front. You make a good point, Greg. It's going to be a mystery who's going to get to the front end in this race, but we know who's going to be closing, and that's going to be Tejano Twist. So I just think Gunite ran lights out, and Tejano Twist is going to be dangerous tomorrow.
3-1 morning line, part of that Chris Hartman duo. That is a good one. Race 8 on the card. I'm going to go on record and say Whitmore would be able to beat that bunch tomorrow, as is.
Oh, right now?
Right
Get him
now.
ready?
Just bring them out.
He'd call Ron McQuett.
Too
they
late
let
to
him
enter?
run. You know, it's an exhibition. First money only.
All right, race
Might not be the
5.
nicest thing to do to poor
I'd
Whitmore.
love to see it.
Let him sleep.
Mile and a 16th. This is for non-winners at 2 Life, and here's Namesake.
Namesake's had a lot of chances. Just seems a little unlikely down in here.
Blinkers on. It's a new gelding, Pittsburgh.
He's impossible to trust off the terrible performance and drop down, but he looks loose in the lead, and I'm not trying to beat him.
19-1 next door. A horse who was 0 for 8 in the money at Oaklawn, Depart.
I don't see how he can possibly win based on any race he's ever run.
It was at this level last start, made no impact. Casilio.
Maiden
Kylie
win.
Jordan.
Maiden win was an improvement, but that was a muddy sealed track, and I guess that race gives the horse a chance if the shoe doesn't show up.
Here's Skyline. John Horan trains, 1 for 18.
That's my problem. I can't take 1 for 18s, and for what it's worth, it's not a trainer that has good numbers stretching out 7% on the dirt.
This horse very likely to be last early and maybe even late.
That's the problem. Even if you thought he was good enough, I hate these horses that come from so far behind.
And Mystifier, blinkers coming off.
Like the favorite, he's dropping down as well. The favorite has much more speed, though, so I would prefer Pittsburgh over Mystifier.
All right, 6-5 favorite, Pittsburgh for Peter Miller. Let's go back to Paulie.
Yeah, not to throw out any puns, I'm a little mystified at the will pays in here, because when I looked at the racing form last night, Pittsburgh was 6-5 on the morning line. This is a horse that's dropping for $7,500, non-winners of 2. And I thought, okay, it's Peter Miller, 3-5, Nick Juarez aboard. This horse is the second lowest in the will pays. The 1 is actually lower in the will pays in the pick 3s, which is interesting to me. And the 8 is right on top of those 2 horses. So I'm wondering if the 2 is a tiny bit cold on the board, at least cold compared to dropping in this race and compared to this race, at least cold for me in the will pays. Now, Namesake, the 1, drew the 8-hole last time on a muddy racetrack. I would think Chelsea's going to try to send and maybe go forward, but does Pittsburgh go forward as well? I think the 8-horse on the outside is the value play. Right? Well, not even the value play at 5-2 at Francisco Arrieta. Blinkers come off. The drop to 7,500, and I just think that horse is going to sit in a really good spot. The way the board's getting played with Pittsburgh, I can't advise anybody to play this horse right now. I'm going with Wolfie.
7-5 on Pittsburgh.
I'm thinking it's a Pirates thing. I'm thinking it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm thinking Paulie may have had some bad experience playing the Pirates. I think it's that. That's what I'm sticking with. That's
not a
my
Willie
theory.
Stargell fan.
Willie Stargell. I guarantee Paulie was a Willie Stargell
Kent
fan.
Colvey.
Remember Kent Colvey? Sure. All those players and
Sidearm.
Dave Parker.
Yeah.
One of the greatest arms in the history
One
of
of the greatest
outfielders.
throws in All-Star history.
Did he? Well, he could throw a guy out from the outfield. He was amazing.
6th at Aqueduct. It is a New York-bred allowance optional claiming field, 1 turn mile. Let's go down to Maggie.
We'll take a look at one of the horses who projects to be one of the favorites, and she's second choice right now, and that is Midtown Lights. She was coming in off a little bit of a freshening, 2 months to be exact, last time out, and she ran well. She just ran into a very good horse in Downtown Mischief, who we'll see participate in the Cicada against Open Company tomorrow. And it was actually the first time I'd ever seen Midtown Lights not nervous. But now she comes back here and she's washed out, she's shaking, and it's not out of character for her. I just thought that last time was a step in the right direction, and now she's taken 3 steps backwards. So she's not a horse I'm ever going to cozy up to, and that's why I prefer the horse that annoyingly is your current 8-5 favorite, because when they walked in, I hadn't looked at the board yet, but number 7, I'm Having a Moment, by far looks the best in here. And last time, it was weird. As far as internal fractions, they ran a bit slower going the 7/8 as opposed to the mile last time. So in her maiden, she was able to keep on top of the pace, and last time she just kind of got a little run off her feet, ironically going the mile. So they're gonna add just a very shortcut cheater blinker. And look, Bill Mott's barns throughout the country, no matter where he's running, his horses are showing up and performing, and I can say with the ones that I see here in New York, it shows pre-race, because they look phenomenal, considering that I'm Having a Moment is another one that has wintered here in New York. She doesn't look like it. She looks like she's been in South Florida or somewhere very warm, which I would be jealous of, but she's been wintering here with all of us, and I really like what I'm seeing, Greg.
Well, so does the public right now. This horse is the 9-5 favorite.
I picked I'm Having a Moment, but never, ever thought this would be the case in here. But obviously the public's seeing a lot of what I'm seeing, and I love what Maggie had to say about it. And you think about the job that Leanna Williford does for Bill Mott, and she's never going to have her name in the program, and it is Bill Mott's barn, and she'd be the first one to say Bill gets the credit. But Leanna, you don't get the kind of respect from Bill Mott that she gets. She's been in charge of the stable for going on 20 years now, and they are, as Maggie said, firing all cylinders everywhere. But Leanna does a fabulous job for them year in and year out in New York.
So 8-5 favorite. I'm Having a Moment for the Mott barn with Jose Lizcano. We'll have the post parade coming up in a moment. Right-hand side of your screen, that 5th at Oaklawn, where the 9-5 favorite remains Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh blinkers on, wants to be forward, but isn't Skyline going to be a problem on the front end?
Hang on a second, Greg. Well, you would think stretching out they're going to go. I am not familiar with this rider at all. This rider is 0 for 89 in 2022, a 7-pound bug rider, so no. Riders like that don't tend to be as aggressive in these situations. But Paulie's right. This 9-5 is concerning. Source is DOB.
Jonathan, what do you got for us?
When I first looked at the past performances, I wanted to try to beat Pittsburgh, and then you start looking around a little bit here, and Pittsburgh's got speed and is dropping in class from 40. Ran horrible last time. Ran horrible. And if they were running back for 40, I wouldn't have this horse on a ticket, and I wouldn't bet the horse with Andy's money. But they're now in towards the bottom for 7,500. I just feel like Pittsburgh, with the blinkers on, being aggressively ridden, might just get a little bit brave on the front end. And maybe doesn't even have to get brave. I just don't think any of these other horses are going to want to go past him. I wouldn't cut in line to bet this horse at 9-5, but I do believe that he's your winner.
I just want to be clear. He got them both in there, Jonathan. He wouldn't bet it with my money. I have no money, Jonathan, so you definitely can't bet it with my money. And he wouldn't cut in line. He's got his game together. Does he have green on for St. Patrick's Day? Very disappointing. I'm the only one. You guys are very disappointing.
We are a sad crew.
I had red. I was putting red on. I had a red shirt, and I had the local news on, and they were discussing the St. Patrick's Day parade. And I said, okay, I better change my outfit.
You probably got a McMilkshake, though. What do they call those? A Shamrock Shake?
Well, I'd have to go to a McDonald's to have one of those.
We'll confirm with JK if he did get one of those. Pittsburgh 9-5 favorite in this spot coming up. So Peter Miller, Nick Juarez, second off the claim here, and a horse that already has shown the ability to be forward. Now blinkers going on, so we know the intentions.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's kind of an act of desperation with Pittsburgh, but Paulie's right. How is it possible that the one is taking the same amount of money as this horse? That is a negative for Pittsburgh. It feels to me like if Pittsburgh was a likely winner here, he'd be even money. And I think that's what Paulie was getting at, and I'm not going to argue with that.
It's a nosedive drop after not showing up for 40 N2L, all the way down to 7,500. Here we go. Fifth from Oaklawn. Pick 5 starts here. Jim Byers the call.
Loading. They're in the gate. And they're off. Coselio was hustling hard early with Skyline on the outside. Pittsburgh was away promptly. Those three will go head and head into that first turn. Then comes Depart racing in fourth. Mystifier out there fifth. Namesake is racing sixth. And Quality Run is lagging far behind early as they turn onto the backstretch. Pittsburgh with the lead here by a half length to Coselio, and up on the outside, Skyline. With 3/4 of a mile to go, Pittsburgh owns the lead by a neck over Skyline. Coselio right in between them, and then an 8-length break back to Depart, who is just inside of Namesake. That pair is still well back. Mystifier is 4 lengths behind them, and it's tremendously far back to Quality Run into the far turn. Pittsburgh has yielded the lead on the inside. And with a half mile to go, it's now Coselio with the lead by a head to Skyline. Pittsburgh being pushed a bit to keep up. He's racing in third, and now on the move is Namesake, followed by Depart. Mystifier is engaging from the back end. Pittsburgh is dropping straight out of it here as they turn for home. Namesake is driving to the lead, soon to be challenged by Mystifier. Up on the outside, it's Namesake and Mystifier. Coselio and Skyline drop back. Depart edges by them. 3/16 to go. And on the inside, Namesake, and right to the outside, Mystifier. These two head and head. Namesake and Chelsea Bailey. Mystifier and Francisco Arrieta. Namesake is digging down. And Namesake, as they come to deep stretch in an all-out match race here at the end, is going to win it and gut it out 3/4 of a length to Mystifier. It's close to 20 lengths, perhaps, back to Quality Run, who salvaged a distant third. And then Coselio fourth.
Namesake the win, and you were right about that concern with Pittsburgh.
He couldn't even make the lead early in the race. You could see he was done about 3/8 of a mile into the race. The money was sure right about him, and the money was right about Namesake, and it really looked...
Win-off favorite.
And didn't it look like Mystifier had him easily beaten top of the stretch? But Chelsea Bailey had a little something left.
Back to New York. Here's our post parade for the 6th. Again, 1-turn mile for the state-bred optional claiming allowance group, and here's Luna Loca.
Yeah, there's a lot of speed in here, so I doubt this one is on front, but it's in decent form. Just a tough race.
Sweetest Princess coming out of that Maddie May at a mile was third, beat 3 lengths.
I think this is a generous price on Sweetest Princess, who has been improving.
Harlan's Bond debut winner at 6-1 for David Donk.
Oh, he's excited to see Dave Donk win, but the going is getting much tougher here.
Big figure from Midtown Lights on a wet track in her 3-year-old return.
Good numbers for this barn stretching horses out at Naira. She stretches out from the sprint, but is she as good as that figure suggests on a dry track?
Jackie Davis on Lavana went by, big long shot. And here's Monroe for Todd Pletcher, debut winner at 1-5.
Getting a very low figure, and this horse is D.O.B. This horse is taking no money.
5-2 morning line, 9-2 right now on the 6th. And here's the favorite still. I'm having a moment. Belmont, Jose Lezcano.
I picked her, but I would never bet her at this 8-5, though I thought she would run better. Belmont's numbers, that barn, off of Maiden wins, not that strong, so maybe she took a little bit of step back, and I think you'll see a better performance today.
Brad Cox, Manny Franco, Jonathan, they team up with the 4 in here that relative to this group, big figure in a wet track back on February 17th.
Yeah, ran well last time, and this is a tough race. There's a couple of horses in here that have some nice numbers that I think that you could lean on, but they don't have a full body of work, a lot of them, so you don't know if the number was real. The 6 Monroe I thought was a little bit interesting, but I didn't quite trust the number. I'm a little bit shocked the 7's taking as much money as she is, because she's not as fast as the 4 Midtown Lights. Midtown Lights has had a couple of races that are faster than her. And that's just where I decided to go here. They did run well on the sloppy racetrack, but this horse also had some nice numbers. Had some nice numbers on the turf, has been running well, and just kind of on all surfaces. So I didn't want to dismiss that was the reason that this horse had run well. The one that I thought was interesting was the 6 Monroe. I got some nice pace figures from that race. The final figure was okay. There's been one horse that came back and kind of ran better off of that effort, but a bunch of them didn't run better. So I didn't have enough to lean on the 6 Monroe to know if that figure was going to be fast enough. That's why I defaulted to the 4 Midtown Lights. I wouldn't dismiss Monroe if you're getting involved in some sort of multi-race wager. If you're playing exactas or tries, I would keep the 6 in the mix here. But I do think the 4 is a horse you can likely trust a little bit more.
All right, JK, thanks. Let's take a look at Monroe and that debut win.
Listen, it was an impressive win. He won easily. She was a very, very short price. She ran a 61 buyer, and for people that are wondering, this is why we often say on the show, before making a final judgment, good or bad, you want to see the figs. And I think when you see a horse that 25 cents the dollar debuting for a trainer like Todd Pletcher that cost $320,000, winning by 6.5, your guess would probably be, without looking at the times, that horse could really be a stakes horse going forward. No, it was a function of the competition in all likelihood, and this horse just may not be that good.
Minute to post. Let's head downstairs to Maggie.
Yeah, we'll get to her in a moment. I kind of agree with what Andy's saying, but I want to talk about number 1, Luna Loca. Now, she does get Lasix for the first time in her career, and I think Kendrick Carmouche really does fit this filly. He's undefeated on her, so that kind of speaks for itself. And I remember while he was out on injury the last time she ran in the Maddie May, and it was kind of a passive ride in which that rider let Cairo Sugar just get to the lead, and Cairo Sugar took them all the way, where Luna Loca was up forwardly, and she just allowed that horse to come up her inside. Now, I know that Dave Duggan, whose opinion I really respect, Kendrick Carmouche opinion I really respect. And Kendrick said that he thinks his filly's better going longer. And I see it with her physically. But there's something that I've kind of learned and picked up over the years. Watch a horse's way of going. Watch their stride. I mean, Tappet Trice is a prime accentuated example of a horse that wants to run proverbially all day. He has that really big floating stride, a lot of suspension to his stride. Whereas a horse like Luna Loca, she kind of runs into the ground more so, and that's more of a sprinting type. So we'll see what she does here. Overall, I love what I'm seeing from her, and I think it's interesting teaming back up with Kendrick. Monroe, look, I agree with Andy. They may have paid a lot for her, but as a 2-year-old, I highly doubt she's gone on from there physically. She is a slight frame of a filly, and while she might be okay going longer, I really question the field she comes out of. Besides number 7 in here, who's held strong as your favorite, I'm having a moment, I thought Sweetest Princess, as Andy mentioned, she has gotten better on form. She's gotten better physically. She's really rounding in to a very athletic frame now. And I think she's a good alternative, in my opinion, to your favorite. But I'm going to chalk it out, Greg.
9-5. Look the part. Public backing. I'm having a moment as well. Start number 3 after that debut win. 4th in that Maddie May. Start number 2. Gets blinkers. Gets Lasix. And an outside post here for a second time in against winners. 6th, ready to go from Aqueduct. Let's go upstairs. Chris Griffin, the call.
Monroe, second to last. I'm having a moment. Is the last to load. I'm having a moment goes in. All in line. All set. And they're off. Good break towards the inside, Luna Loca. Then it gets a little crowded there. Sweetest Princess was in there with Harlan's Bond, but now Luna Loca is clear. It's Luna Loca in front. Harlan's Bond is now straightening up, is there with Midtown Lights, who's in between horses. Up on the far outside, here's I'm Having a Moment. And they come out of the chute, I'm Having a Moment. And Luna Loca, they're head and head, 1-2. Just behind them, there's Harlan's Bond, who's tracking to the inside here of Monroe. They're 3rd and 4th. Now backing off the pace was Midtown Lights. Just got squeezed there towards the start. Is now back to the 5th position. Is 4 lengths clear of Sweetest Princess Princess and Levant. They're the two trailers. They work up the backstretch, 22-4 for the opening quarter mile. Luna Loca's got the lead, is up by a neck. I'm Having a Moment with a nice trip, has been in the clear the entire journey, is approaching the half-mile pole. It's I'm Having a Moment, who's ready to pounce up on the outside. Down to the inside is Harlan's Bond, looking for room there for Vargas Jr. Here comes the run from Monroe. Also rallying on is Midtown Lights, and Midtown Lights is on the move, is about to split rivals and about to challenge and take the third spot. It's I'm Having a Moment under a tight hold with Luna Loca, and an oncoming Midtown Lights is ranging up on the outside. They went 46.74 for that half-mile time. They're well into the far turn, and they are tightly bunched. I'm Having a Moment has got the lead. Ready to challenge as Midtown Lights up on the outside. Sweetest Princess is now within range as 3 off the lead. They reach the top of the stretch. Midtown Lights takes it right to I'm Having a Moment, who's got more down towards the inside as they approach the 8th pole. It is Midtown Lights trying to put away a stubborn I'm Having a Moment who keeps coming back to the inside. Midtown Lights, I'm Having a Moment is very resilient, but Midtown Lights is now up by a neck, now up by a full length. Midtown Lights is drawing away late. Midtown Lights, Manny Franco, they get the score over I'm Having a Moment, Sweetest Princess, and Monroe in 1 minute 39.78 seconds.
Public got it right again. Money shifted late. This filly went off the favorite and wins for Brad Cox with Manny Franco.
It's turned into a really, really fun stretch duel between these two horses. You know, I thought that maybe Cicada was kind of sitting a little chilly on I'm Having a Moment, and it felt like Manny was putting Midtown Lights into a drive and maybe would hang a little bit in the stretch, but he was able to grind out the victory. A nice performance by both these horses. And I think the thing that's, I don't know if impressive is the right word, really interesting with Midtown Lights is, this is the first time this horse has been on a dry, non-sealed track. Every other race has either been turf or sloppy or muddy and sealed. So you didn't know, was this a horse that would be as efficient? And I think we saw a very good performance. And I think they both ran extremely well in here. Nice performances. And once again with a 6, the things don't lie.
So 6th goes to Midtown Lights, Manny Franco, Brad Cox. And now 2 for 6 in her career. All these prices coming up. 4, 7, 2, 6 finish. We'll be back. Feature coming up. And a lot more from Oaklawn on the way as well. Stick with us. Midtown Lights with the W in that stretch duel. We're back on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage. Thanks for spending part of your Friday with us. Our program brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net. Today, Midtown Lights Manny Franco, Brad Cox taking the 6th.
Battle between Jonathan and Maggie and I down the stretch. I think Maggie liked the 7 also.
Yes.
And Jonathan comes up the winner. That's the way we look at it, not the horses. But nice performance. I think both the first 2 ran very well in here. And you could argue the pace was pretty honest. I think I'm having a moment really ran extremely well. The Midtown Lights showed that form, could stretch out. And I'll tell you something, maybe this does move up. Tomorrow, the favorite, the stake tomorrow.
Downtown Mischief, beat this filly last time she was on the racetrack, and she's going to be probably the favorite, and that's Cicada tomorrow. $6.10 for the win for Midtown Lights, 4-7-2. And we'll get to the feature coming up in a moment. Back at Oaklawn. Namesake, public all over it. Chelsea Bailey, Tom Swearingen barn. Carl Brittingham owns. 5-year-old wins for the second time in 14 starts. The Pittsburgh was taking all that early money. That nosedive drop in class for Peter Miller. Nowhere here.
Yeah, and Paulie was right on top of that. No money, but Namesake took the money, and the 2 closers duked it out in the stretch. Chelsea Bailey and Namesake getting the victory.
Let's move on to the 6th here. Pick 4 from Hot Springs, 6 furlong sprint. 3-year-olds and up in a conditioned $30,000 claiming race. Best of Greeley right now, taking a lot of money. Robertino Diodoro off the claim. And a 6-time winner, this 8-year-old. Trying to return to the winner's circle for the first time since April of last year. Well, many have heard of some of the trailblazing women in horse racing. Riders like Julie Crone, Patty Cooksey, Donna Barton Brothers, just to name a few. Another you may not have heard of, however, is Kathy Howard, who may not have the national recognition of those just named. But in Hot Springs, she is an Oaklawn treasure.
In horse racing, Kathy Howard is a lifer. She's worked as a paddock judge, placing judge, stakes coordinator, even a stint as a trainer following the death of her husband, Tom Howard. And she's been racing manager for Frank Fletcher Racing Operations for over 20 years.
It is true.
But many don't know about her trailblazing days when she was known as Kathy Moore, a promising female jockey making a name for herself in a world foreign to women.
Seems like horse racing is still a man's sport. Is it any easier for you being a female jockey?
Well, from what I can tell, it's pretty rough. I don't know if it was any harder, 5 or 6 years ago, because I wasn't in the position I'm in now.
But yeah, it was tough. I was so shy. I wasn't shy when I was on a horse, but I was so shy growing up.
See,
And I'd be at somebody's stable to work a horse, and if I was a few minutes early, I was too shy to even go into the office or the tack room. If there was more than 2 people in there, I would just stand out there by the door until they came out.
Look at this, was my grandmother. That was my grandma. Isn't that something? My grandmother and grandfather, they were Russian, Babadito. They were the first ones that ever took me to the racetrack. That was a big deal.
In 1980, at the age of 23, Kathy became more than the first woman to win a stakes race at Oaklawn.
Despite becoming the first female jockey to post an Oaklawn handicap victory, Moore didn't say anything about women's liberation and equal rights amended. I never said anything like that. It's just 41 years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. The Gallant Serenade right here at Oaklawn. I had a speed horse, and so I think I did set the fractions. He was all speed. There's an old gentleman named Jim Hughes that trained, and he rode me. I remember his barn was over there by the gap. He was kind of jumping up and down, and when I was galloping back, he said, "You're a real juryman now. You did it, Kathy, you did it." There's Jim Hughes. That's the guy that was saying, "You made it as a juryman." And he's long been passed, but I'll never forget that. It's just a tough game. I've never really thought about it, except it's kind of like I know what I did, and I know the trails that I've hopefully blazed for some other females. I'm a very humble, quiet person, so, it makes me feel good. It was almost like a past world, and then when I was married to Tom Howard until he died, whenever we won a race, and it was always we, because we would work together. It was a really big, it gave me like almost the same rush, exciting, and now with Mr. Fletcher,
And when we win a race with a homebred, especially Frank's Rocket, it's almost the same. He's my boss, but he's also my friend. And we have the common interest, the love of horses.
Oh, it's a really neat story, and now she's become a vital part of that operation with Frank Fletcher Racing.
No, it's a great story. I just like all those stories. And one of the things you find a lot in racing is people who have been associated working for each other for long, long periods of time and working together. And, you can say there's no loyalty left. There is a lot of loyalty in racing. Look at that, like you and I still working together, despite my performance on a daily basis. Incredible.
We're forever going to be linked together.
For better or for worse, for one of us.
Papa Rocket, part of Frank Fletcher Racing stable. Going to see with Keith Asmussen riding for Dwayne Lucas, outside post in the race coming up.
Yeah, you can usually tell it is a Frank Fletcher horse if it's got Rocket in the name.
Feature coming up in New York, so here we go. Race 7. We talked about it at the very top of the show. Pharaoh's Heart, 8-5 right now off that comeback victory to kick off her 6-year-old campaign.
She's just ran super last time, and one narrative is, can she run the race back? And the other one is, Mama's got to run. Can she stop taking herself out of races on the turn? It's weird.
That's the 3. Mama's got to run. The 6, though, Pharaoh's Heart you're looking at. 3-2 favorite. Jose Lezcano will ride for Michelle Nevin. Post parade coming up.
Catholic Boy, a Grade 1 winner on both dirt and turf, including this romp in the Run Happy Travers Stakes.
He's so impressive today, the others didn't even have a prayer.
This 6-time graded stakes winner was the fastest 3-year-old of his crop over 10 furlongs. At the sales, his first crop yearling sold up to $300,000. Dual Surface Grade 1 winner Catholic Boy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
We're back at America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage. We have the feature coming up from New York. Feature still to come at Oaklawn as well, but not quite there yet. Race 6 is next. 6-furlong sprint in this condition, $30,000 claiming race. Best of Greeley. Speed inside, Paul LaDuca, and right now the favorite.
Yeah, the favorite. I think Diodoro with the 1-2 punch here is why they're getting played here. Now, the outside horse for Keith and Steve Asmussen, kind of horse that just runs the same race each time and needs a little pace up front. Although I do think the horse does have a look. I just don't know at right now at 2-1. The lone wins were at Keeneland, was here for the 30 non-2. So the 30 non-2 basically at this level, even though there's multiple winners of 2 races in this race. And the other one was 3/4 of a length for Maiden 30. So 30,000 seems like it's been the key for Papa Rocket, but I thought there were weaker races. When you look at the Diodoro horses, you do have Best of Greeley on the inside. Last time out, just really kind of broke a tiny bit fat-footed, got rushed up a little bit, and then kind of a speed duel, I guess, but, sort of ran evenly on the way home. It was kind of a weird race, but the horse hadn't run since May, so I'm figuring this horse will pop out of the gate. And Diodoro, he loves claiming these 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 9-year-olds, and he gets them to go a little bit. And then the 3 in here, City Rage, blinkers on, claim this one out of the Mark Glatt barn, and this horse has shown some ability. Obviously, there's a couple of races on here that would destroy this group. And this 7-year-old can maybe lay a little bit off the pace in here and come from way out of it. I will say this, though. The 4 is interesting in one aspect. It's tough to come from way out of it at Delta at 5 furlongs. And none of the Delta horses have really fired. This horse has got bad gait issues. If somehow he can get out of the gate, Kylie Jordan can maybe get this horse going for maybe 3rd or 4th. But I don't see any of them beating either of the Diodoros, the 1 and the 3. And I think the 7 at 2-1 is a horse that can run maybe 2nd or 3rd. I just don't like the 7 as a win candidate.
Paul, thanks. Yeah, that other Diodoro, City Rage, he faced edge to edge last time out, who we're going to see in the Grade 3 Whitmore on Saturday. He's tackled some tough company as we get back to New York in the feature.
Yeah, sorry, my head's spinning. We're going to so many different racetracks here. This is an interesting race, and, I'm not surprised Farrah's Heart's favored, but I'm interested in what Maggie has to say about these horses because there's more than a few can win this race.
I agree. Oh, Andy's tossing to me now. Nice. But taking a look at number 3, Mama's Gotta Run, she adds blinkers, and she has kind of been her own worst enemy, at least going around the 2 turns in her last 2 starts. Now, I admit, I was kind of against her going the 9 furlongs, but she was able to win, albeit via DQ, 2 back. And then last time she did the same thing. And I kind of wonder if it's something to do with horses sometimes get cute, sometimes get smart, whereas they get to the 2nd turn and they're like, oh, well, this is normally when I pull up in the morning, so I'll pull up now. But then she kind of re-engages down the stretch because she doesn't do it around the first turn, so you would have to think mechanically everything's fine. But she adds a significant Cheater Cup blinker. It's not huge, but it's not really closing her in that much, but it's enough to keep her engaged, I would say. She looks great, and as you can obviously surmise, I like her getting back to this 1-turn mile. She looks great for Linda Rice, who looks to continue a hot streak here on this Friday card. As we'll move on to your favorite, Farrah's Heart. Well, they are doing what they typically do with her, saddling her outside. She's just a claustrophobic mare, I should say. I knew that going back to her 2 Oaklawn races, or at least that April 2nd one, because I talked with Steve Asmussen and his assistant Darren, and I mean, they were both on her head. They were both trying to just get her to relax, and she was weirdly relaxed in that Oaklawn paddock. It was when she gets to the gate where you'll see most of her bad habits sometimes occur. Now they've gotten the saddle on her, all things good. And I wasn't in the paddock for her February 24th race, but she looks really, really fit relative to that one going back to December. So we'll see what she does from that outside post, Greg, and she is able to control this time.
Maggie, thanks. 6-5 here with Jose Lezcano back aboard, trying to go back-to-back to kick off her 6-year-old season.
She was very, very good last time. There's a fast pace. She'll likely be stalking self-isolation this race. If self-isolation isn't aggressive, she'll be in front. I think she's going to run well, but I also do think that the number 3, Mama's Gotta Run, is very dangerous. It's crazy that she's a similar price to Money Honey. I guess everyone's betting every horse Rob Atras runs because she's way, way too slow to even be competitive in this race. It should be 10 or 12-1 here, but maybe Rob Atras' horses are all running through walls. But Mama's Gotta Run, her trip last time was one of the weirdest things you've ever seen. And I bet her in this race. She's sitting here stalking. If I were to tell you that in a very, very short period of time, she's going to be dead last in this race, if you've never watched it, you'd like to bet me $100 that I'm wrong in that. And it's nothing the rider did. She did the same thing with Eric Cancel the time before that. Now, I wonder if Linda Rice is thinking going from 2 turns to 1 turn, putting blinkers on, will help her with what's turned into a very strange habit. But she's also run extremely well, and the key to her running well is stretching her out. She has a pedigree that screams distance on the dam side. And Linda Rice told me, look at her. Right now, you wouldn't give 10 cents for
Bizarre.
her. She looks like the one in that last race. Pittsburgh, the 2-horse, Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
right? Like she's going to be distant here. And Linda said, I claimed her to stretch her out. I couldn't believe in the pedigree that no one had run her long before. And she was dead right. She's improved by stretching out. She always wins this race against a horse that came back and won not one of the world's greatest stakes, but a stake nonetheless in her subsequent start. Look at this performance. Amazing, right?
And
bizarre.
What was there any clarification or thought process in what she thinks is going on here?
It happened the time before that, too. The exact same thing happened the time before that. So she's just kind of a weird horse. Is it psychological? And is a one-turn race going to make her stay in it more? I don't know. I tell you what, she's the most interesting horse to watch in this race because of this.
7-2 on the board right now. Eric Cancel will get his try. He was back aboard her 2 starts ago. Will return to the feature here at Aqueduct. We go back to Oaklawn in the meantime here, about to load for race 6. And throughout, it's been Best of Greeley the one for one of the 2 for Diodoro in here with favoritism. But as we said earlier, Paulie brought it up, the 3-City Rage, some big races not long ago last summer on the West Coast.
I know, but it just doesn't feel like City Rage is that horse anymore to have run as badly off the claim out there. But I guess the thing with City Rage, May could run it here. And the other thing is Torres is riding City Rage and Zimmerman's on Best of Greeley. You might think he would be on Torres on the one he prefers.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Jim Byers the call. Here's the pick 4 from Hot Springs.
They're in the gate. And they're off. Off to an excellent start. Ship It Red showing speed with, on the inside, Best of Greeley. And then 3 deep comes City Rage. Followed a length and a half back by Jerry's 80. He's 4th. Colonel Klink 5th. Meet Joe is racing in 6th. And trailing the field is Papa Rocket. Down the backstretch, it's Best of Greeley, Ramsey Zimmerman, sharing the lead here with Ship It Red and Francisco Arrieta. Best of Greeley appears to be a path or 2 off the rail. Ship It Red is outside of him. City Rage sits outside of that pair in 3rd. Then Jerry's 80 and Colonel Klink on the inside. Papa Rocket is at the back end of the field with Meet Joe. 1/4 mile to the finish. Best of Greeley has the lead by a half length. Ship It Red, the Arizona Invader, is alongside. In behind them, Colonel Klink. And up on the far outside, here comes Papa Rocket gaining ground and shifting inward with City Rage in the yellow as Papa Rocket has gone to the lead. Keith James Asmussen, Ship It Red still in there fighting for 2nd. As they come to the finish, it's Papa Rocket. He's going to step clear late. Ship It Red, good effort for 2nd. Jerry's 80 was 3rd and City Rage 4th.
Papa Rocket, D. Wayne Lucas, and Keith Asmussen team up for Frank Fletcher Racing. Kathy Howard.
Nice to see them get the job done, and this horse has been keeping some pretty tough company as well and dropped down to an appropriate level. A nice ride from Keith to get it done. I wondered if there could be an inquiry against the 2 Ship It Red, as he was drifting in the stretch. It felt like he might have come on the path of City Rage. I don't think it mattered, though.
5-2 on your winner. Here comes our post parade back in the feature in New York. Kate Davis on Toned Up for Amira Shishakli.
Well, this is an outfit that has been improving horses when they've taken over their training. They would have to improve her a lot.
Big number from Movie Moxie last time out, 8-1.
She's the interesting price in this race. She ran against Cheaper, but she jumped up the start and spotted the field 3 lengths and still ran a big figure. She is an overlay and playable at 8-1.
Yeah, beat that field by 6+ lengths in the end. Here's Mama's Gotta Run. We showed you that interesting start last time out.
I'm a fan. I've bet on her last 2 starts. Frustrating last time out. I think she's very dangerous here.
Honey Money, Dylan Davis for Rob Atras.
Listen, Rob Atras winning races in bunches, so I get it, but on paper, she isn't even remotely competitive.
Here's Self-Isolation, blinkers on with Manny Franco.
The only thing she can do is show speed, which could get a little bit in the way of Pharaoh's Heart.
And the 6-year-old mare here, the gray, Pharaoh's Heart for Michelle Nevin.
I mean, her last race was terrific. She's a horse that had stakes potential in her career, and if Michelle really has her turned around, a key is that she was getting left in those races. If she can break cleanly, and I think that's the key for her. It's also the key for the number 2 in this race, Louis Moxie. A lot going on in here.
Let's go to Jonathan for more on the favorite.
Yeah, I mean, Andy kind of laid it out. This horse has showed a ton of talent. And when I say ton of talent, I'm talking about like an outstanding debut, and then came back and ran another fast number, just happened to run into another good horse. And then she just kind of went the wrong direction, and it seems that she's trending back in that direction of the talent that we always thought she had. She's drawn towards the outside. Her main competition's kind of a shortish price anyways, too. The Three Mama's Got a Run, who I thought was the other one that you probably wanted to try to defend against. And she had some trouble last time Mama's Got a Run. And I don't have a problem with anyone who would try to, that wants to play her. A lot of times when I'm looking at other options, I need there to be a large enough price differential to kind of match who I actually think is going to win. That's the real definition of value. These people who tell you from their keyboards, likely in someone's basement they're related to, they'll tell you that value is you got to play a horse that's 9-1. There could absolutely be value on a horse that's even money, and that value comes from, does their price match their actual chances of winning? The problem with the Three Mama's Got a Run is I think 3-1 is probably a little bit too low for what I think is going to happen. Her chances actually are. So ultimately, I'm just going to lean with the 6, Pharaoh's Heart, who's drawn to the outside. And basically, I'm wagering on even money that Pharaoh's Heart is about to thrust herself into stakes races after this race. So take me to the outside with the 6, Pharaoh's Heart.
And JK, I respect that. I think, as Andy pointed out, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of fillies and mares in here who have bad habits. And Pharaoh's Heart is one of those. So watch her at the start. Luckily, she's the last horse in and will have to sit the least amount of time. But I want to talk about number 1, Toned Up. I am intrigued because it does feel like these connections, talking about like the whole team, the horses seem to outrun their odds. And I actually don't necessarily mind her last effort. Yes, Pharaoh's Heart did wire the field that day, and she was soundly beaten by her, but she was really far back, and she was the only horse to make up significant ground. So we'll see how the pace scenario plays out here, and she does look very healthy, moving well on the track. Movie Moxie is another one with the bad habit. She rears up. At least she has in her last 2 efforts. It'll be interesting to see, will they have a handler, an assistant starter in there with her? Sometimes when horses have the propensity to do that, you take that handler out. And I know from experience in the mornings that Linda Rice schools her horses quite a bit at the gate. A lot of standing in the gate is what she does. So we'll see, does that come into play? She's another one that looks great. And then you have the probably overbet number 4, Honey Money in here. It's the best I've ever seen her look. I agree. She probably is what she is, but I have never seen her appear this well turned out prior to a race. And her trainer, Rob Atras, has said that he believes that the 1-turn mile is her ideal distance as it allows her to get into the race more comfortably. And Greg, you wanted to know what Linda Rice thought Mama's Got a Run's problem was? Well, she thinks it's when horses tend to fold over when they go into the turn. She gets intimidated, and that's why she's hoping the addition of the blinkers will solve that problem.
Maggie, thanks for chasing that. That's great. So we'll see if that solves the issues here. Keep your eyes certainly on Mama's Got a Run during the mid stages of this race. Will she drop back again, or can she stay involved?
I don't know. It's a real question. And you also have to see, is the 6 going to break? And the 6 is about as overbet at 3-5 as any horse I've ever seen in my life. Is the 3 going to get? Is the 2 going to get out of the gate? I mean, the 2 has blown the start twice in a row. There's so much going on right now. The 6 here, I thought she'd be favored, and I like her. She should be 8-5 or 9-5. 3-5 is just insane.
There she is, heavy odds-on favorite. It's the feature on the Friday card. Let's go to Chris Griffin.
All set. And they're off. Honey Money breaks very well from in between horses. There's self-isolation in the red cap up on the outside with Pharaoh's Heart. Mama's Got a Run is going to take back, is back to the 4th position, now in the clear. They're well apart here as they get set to come out of the chute. Mama's Got a Run is in the 4th spot, is 4 lengths in front of Movie Moxie in the trailer. Far back, it's Toned Up. Looks like a moderate pace early, and they are well strung out here as they move up the backstretch, but they did go fast. Look at that opening quarter, 22-4 for that opening quarter mile. Self-isolation is to the inside here of Pharaoh's Heart. They're now a clear 1-2. Honey Money is making up some ground, and Mama's Gotta Run has gotten closer, is under a very tight hold here from Eric Cancel, is only about 2 lengths off the lead. Moving closer is Movie Moxie is now within range, and Toned Up is now 8 lengths the trailer as they reach the half-mile pole. 45-4 for that half-mile time. It's Self-Isolation. Ready to pounce is Pharaoh's Heart. And moving right after Pharaoh's Heart, here comes Mama's Gotta Run. And now these two separate from Self-Isolation. Who's back to third? Honey Money is now in the clear, is moving up towards the outside. Also Movie Moxie is trying to run on. And also getting a bit closer now is Toned Up. Self-Isolation is done as they approach. A quarter mile left to go. Pharaoh's Heart has now been passed by Mama's Gotta Run. And Mama's Gotta Run now sprints clear. Honey Money is the danger up on the outside, is making up some late ground. Mama's Gotta Run is still up by a length and a half with a furlong left to go. Honey Money and Dylan Davis with every chance to get her, but Mama's Gotta Run is still in front. It's Mama's Gotta Run is wandering a bit here in the stretch late. Mama's Gotta Run is 2 lengths in front. Linda Rice, 7 consecutive winners. It's all Mama's Gotta Run. Then came Honey Money. Late run there from Movie Moxie over Toned Up in 1 minute, 38.30 seconds.
Welcome to those just joining us on Bally SoCal San Diego. Those already with us on FS2. You're watching America's Day at the Races. And the 7th just took place here at Aqueduct. Yeah, Mama's Gotta Run. Coming up with the goods. Greg Wolf, Andy Serling. We'll introduce the rest of the crew in a moment.
And Mama's Gotta Run, a horse that we talked about quite a bit for those that were listening before the race, as a horse that's been sort of acting badly in her races. She didn't today. And she got a very fast pace to close into, and Pharaoh's Heart engaged in an extremely rapid pace, ridiculously overbet at 3-5 as she was. She couldn't handle that kind of fraction. I don't know where Honey Money came for that performance, but Mama's Gotta Run. She's just been really improved. And the key with Linda Rice was stretching this horse out.
And putting those blinkers on.
Well, yeah, I mean, today she behaved. And, you know, the other thing was Maggie made an interesting point talking to Linda, saying horses sort of leaning on her and things. In this race, she was able to be outside of horses with nobody on her flank, so maybe that also made her more comfortable. It's a very nice performance by her. She got a very good setup. They were flying up front, but it's not like she was 10 lengths behind it.
Back-to-back runner-up finishes with some strange run races from this filly, but she comes up with a winning performance today. 3-4-2-1 finish, 7-2. Eric Cancel aboard for the win for Linda Rice. We're going to take a timeout. When we return, one of the greats, Songbird. We're going to see one of her offspring, her first, coming up. Stay with us. Indeed, the prodigy of a legend on track. A lot more coming up. Stay with us.
Flightline is in full flight. Flightline turns it on at the top of the stretch, and he's in cruise control.
And Flightline takes off.
Take a good look at this, because you're not going to see this too often, maybe never again. Flightline, 20 lengths clear.
World-class racehorse, world-class performance, and a world championship event.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets.
These are the trainers and teachers, the cooks, carpenters, and clockers, grooms and gardeners. These are the hard-working people who show up every day to keep horse racing running across the state. Good-paying jobs that support New York families, along with the thousands of local businesses that depend on Belmont Park. Modernizing Belmont Park would generate $1 billion in economic activity and protect and create thousands of jobs. Albany, create New York jobs. Modernize Belmont Park.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than America'sBestRacing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, The best races, horses, and destination venues. Cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. America'sBestRacing.net is a sport for you.
We're back on America's Day at the Races, our program brought to you in part where you can play it all. Go to NYRABets.com, bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Not one, not two, not three. 7 straight races that Linda Rice has been in that she has won. Incredible. Winner Circle lead-in brought to you by Phasic Tipton Digital, North America's #1 digital auction platform for thoroughbreds. Phasic Tipton Digital, the newest from the oldest. Learn more at digital.phasictipton.com. Let's go downstairs to Maggie.
And Greg, Mama's got to run. Well, it looks as though, Linda, the blinkers really gave you the answer you were looking for and hoping for.
Yes, we've had a little trouble with her racing a little erratically, dropping way back to last, coming again with a big effort. But so we were hoping the blinkers would put her in the game and maybe eliminate that problem. And worked out well today.
And as you said, Eric, having experience with her two-back, was sure not to let anybody to her outside.
Yeah, she seems to have an issue with the horses on the outside of her at about the 3/8 pole. Horses have switched leads, they pinch her a little bit, and she takes herself right out of there. So Eric's learning too.
With that performance, and she wasn't far off a pretty quick pace. So and I know that you claimed her with the intention of going long. Do you think, A, that the mile might be her best distance? And where do you go from here after this allowance win?
I'd like to think that she's going to end up in stakes races here pretty soon. And, she ran so well at 1 1/8. She acted like she could have won 1 1/4. I just think there's all kinds of doors to open with this filly, even grass, 1 1/4 on the turf, things like that. But right now, the way she ran today, I wouldn't be afraid to run her 7 furlongs.
I like it. You have options. Well, congratulations. Enjoy this win.
Thanks, Maggie.
Well, the blinkers did the trick. Mama's got to run. She had her running shoes on today, Greg.
Yes, she did. That was a good performance, and none of those issues like we'd seen the last couple of starts.
And it really shows you how things can change if you end up running horses in the right spots. Because this horse, obviously she was okay as a sprinter, but she's just a lot better going long. You look at those exactas and tries, there is no way that the Pharaoh's Heart was 3-5 in the exactas and tries. The base was bet more intelligently in the exotics.
Back to Oaklawn. Maiden special weight in the 7th at 1 1/16. And we had a summer where it was sort of the summer of Songbird at Saratoga. Showed up in the Alabama trying, I believe, to start her career 10 for 10.
That sounds about right,
and
at least.
She would do just that. She was incredible. We're going to see her offspring make it her 3rd start coming up.
Yeah, and it's interesting with Magical Song, as we look at Songbird. I've been looking forward to her run last time after she ran so well in her debut.
Real quick, let me guess. You bet against her that day.
Oh, I bet against her every single time she ran.
Okay, I thought
and
so.
You guys ridiculed me in the show every time I did it, and that's fair. And then when I liked the horse that beat her on Travers Day and picked her, and everybody else picked Songbird, after she won, nobody mentioned it, and everybody just talked about how unlucky Songbird was to lose. So I just want to say something I can't repeat on air. I feel I've been wronged. I've been carrying this for a long time.
We're talking about the
when
next
she
year.
lost the personal ensign, I got no credit from anybody, and I got abused, and rightfully so. I deserved a lot of abuse. To be fair,
Came out
I
of
never
that race,
respected her.
leave with an injury.
Well, that's something I'm not going to get into because I have a very different opinion than other people do, and it'll just get me in trouble. She's a very, very good horse. What's interesting to me about Songbird is she is one of the more talented 2-year-olds I've ever seen. I don't know that she really got any better. She was just so incredibly talented as a 2-year-old that she was still able to beat that crop quite easily. I mean, she buried them basically every time she ran. But as a 2-year-old, she was, her Breeders' Cup as a 2-year-old, that might have been about as good a Breeders' Cup juvenile as you'll see.
No, and defeat, too, one of her Breeders' Cups was
was
incredible against Beholder.
Well, I'll say about that, that's another situation of learning more about a horse in defeat than in victory, right? When she was challenged by a legitimately great horse, she was up to the task whether or not she lost the photo.
So, Magical Song, the 2, offspring of the great Songbird. 7-5 favorite, despite the fact she's already had 2 chances. This will be start number 3, trying to get that maiden victory for Brad Cox. Whisper Hill Farm, can she do it? We'll be back right after this.
Tampa Bay Downs has a rich thoroughbred horse racing history in Florida dating back to 1926. Celebrities such as Babe Ruth, Jack Dempsey, and John Ringling all attended opening day. In 1981, Hall of Fame jockey Julie Crone won her first career race here, and in 2007, we saw Street Sense win the Tampa Bay Derby and go on later that year to win the Kentucky Derby. Featuring full fields, great turf racing, and a 15% takeout on our Pick 5, Tampa Bay Downs is live racing every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
We're back at America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage. Regional networks out in Southern California as well. And we got the 7th next in Hot Springs. We're approaching the 8-minute mark to post. Maiden special weight, mile and a 16th. Where is she? Looking for the 2 magical song. First offspring of Songbird.
What
7-5
happened
favorite.
last time? I mean, I know she's a little bit wide and out of position. Now she draws well. But, man, she was terrible last time. Maybe something went wrong. She's been out for 2.5 months. Maybe she was sick or something, right? I had texted Brad Cox about when she was going to run, and he had wanted to run her even before that. And the race didn't – she thought she needed some more time. She missed some training. I think when they did a close at Fairgrounds maybe. There were some weather situations. And so he wanted to sort of be on the safe side. She was terrible. But she ran so well in her debut. That was a race the speed held together.
Classy Bridget came out of there. She's been very impressive for Chris Hartman.
Well, she outclosed the horse that ended up finishing second in our Demoiselle for Grand Motion. I don't think she's a superstar, but, I mean, that horse was second to Julia Shining, and she outclosed her in that race. That was a very good performance, her first race. I guess the question becomes is, are we sure she wants to go long? The pedigree says she should, but maybe she's a closing sprinter type. And if she doesn't run well here, I wonder if Brad will look for like a 7-furlong race at Keeneland or something, for a maiden race. Maybe she's that kind of horse.
3-2 favorite for her 3-year-old return. Maybe just needed a little time. I think we're going to see the best of her today. Whatever happens.
I hope so. I thought she was kind of an exciting horse off her debut, but I think you have to be a little bit circumspect after her last race.
No question.
And I'm not going to bet her at 3-2 in here.
Well, the other one taking money is Doro Street for Robertino Diodoro, a Medaglia Doro.
Isn't she loose as a goose in here?
Sprint, speed, stretched out and got the lead as expected last time out. Here's the 1, Exponential Star, start number 2.
I didn't think she was impossible, actually, stretching out in her second start. She didn't run that badly. You want a price, throw her in, leave and tries.
So here she is. Tap It out of Songbird. Magical Song, 3-year-old debut.
A very, very interesting horse. Looking forward to seeing what she does today.
701 next door, Unstable Princess with Ramsey Zinnerman.
She just does no speed, and she's had chances. I guess the best thing to say is, it's the first time she's been on a dry track a dry track in her entire career.
Magic Bubbles, 20-1 first time out and ran like it.
Thought she was a little bit interesting, though. She had a little bit of a trip in that race, and I thought she could run okay in here if you want another horse that, well, she's not much price. Yeah, she's 9-1. She and the 1 are the interesting horses.
5-2. So here's Doro Street, who has already gone a mile and a 16th.
Yeah, but just fell apart last time stretching out. But Theodora wants to run long again. Pedigree says she should handle it.
Dwayne Lucas looking for another one. He's got no guilt with Gabriel Saez.
Stellar Lily is in a race, I want to say Saturday, tomorrow. And she finally broke her maiden last time. Thought she was a little bit slower than these, but not impossible.
Team Asmussen, father and son, with a little good news, start number 2.
Not sure there will be much good news after the race.
And Dogtown Diva is going to round things out at 14-1 outside. Has only been on synthetic in all 3 starts.
Pretty amazing that there's an 8-horse maiden field, and Steve Asmussen has 2, and they're 16 and 14-1, and 2 of the longest prices on the board. Probably don't see that too often in racing.
So Paulie, 7-5 favoritism on this first offspring of Songbird. Have you heard anything?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to tell, right? Is this horse getting bet because of the connections? Obviously, Songbird being a champion took Beholder all the way down to the wire. And, yeah, this horse did run well first time out at Keeneland. Then when we're going around 2 turns here at Oaklawn Park, did not fare well that day. And, you know, he was trying to get forwardly placed by Joey Talamo. And she really wasn't really picking up her feet at the time. So I'm a little bit concerned at 3-2. I get it. There's some other horses in here that you look at and you draw yourself back to Magical Song. The 3 Unstable Princess is a horse that just usually leaves her race at the gate. And right now, this racetrack, I don't know if you can just launch from way out of it. Diodoro Street, the 5, is the interesting horse in here. I was sitting right next to Robertino Diodoro, and he looked at me. He's like, has anybody gotten gate to wire today? It seems like the racetrack's playing towards closers. And I said, what, you're not sending here? He goes, no, I'm sending. I got to go to the front end. That's what my horse likes to do. And I really feel like he didn't really love. Christian Torres had told him 2 starts back. The mud wasn't a problem, but last time he said it was a little bit deeper. It just shows you how a muddier racetrack or a sloppy racetrack can be different. And last time out, like Andy said, the horse did cave in late. But if this horse can clear on the lead and get some separation, I just think the 2's not a great favorite at 6-5, and maybe they're betting this horse off just because of the pedigree. And then the 6, No Guilt, you know, for Dwayne Lucas, looking for another one. You know, since they put the blinkers on this filly, she's improved in each start. But if you look, I mean, how many times can you run a 66 Beyer in a row? I don't think I've ever seen that. A horse that's run 4 straight races, the exact same number.
Yes.
We shall see what happens here. Public still all over the pedigree play. And
this horse is overbet.
Give her one more chance. 3-year-old debut coming up.
I hope she runs great. I really do. But I think this is insane. But her debut, that was a good one. She really ran, and this is kind of what you want to see. But the problem with this is, now, she ran too badly to be true last time. I will not argue that, and I will not be surprised if she wins, and I'm rooting for her. But as a gambler, at 6-5, she was really running at the end. And keep in mind, as I said, she passed a Grand Motion horse who was running her second start. It came back in her subsequent start and was a narrowly beaten second in our Demoiselle. Now, subsequent to that, she did not run particularly well in finishing 3rd in a mile and 8 stake. But look at her. And you'd think, you tap it, Songbird.
That gets you excited about what's to come.
Yeah, right. And I remember telling everybody in the thing, you know, there's this filly, she's going to run, blah, 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 blah. We should talk about it on the show. It's Songbird and everything. And we did. And she didn't run a step. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. 6-5.
Well,
it's a bad gamble.
3-year-old debut coming up. Meanwhile, we know who wants to go to the front, Jonathan.
Yeah, look, I'm really interested in this 5, Doro Street. And, you know, a lot of times with horses like Magical Song, they're going to always take money, and that's what the game's all about. It doesn't annoy me at all. I think it's actually exciting. We fall in love with these horses like Songbird. Andy didn't, but others who fall in love with these horses, and then you get to see their offspring run. It's kind of the gift that keeps on giving, and it's exciting. But look, she didn't really run that fast first time out. She broke slowly first time out, and then she ran awful second time out, and she's had a long break, which you'd like to think there was likely some sort of an issue. I don't think Brad Cox is going to lead her over there if she's not ready to run, but I do think there's an opportunity to try to beat her here, and I'm going to try to beat her with the 5 Doro Street, who's drawn outside of her, who has speed, who doesn't have a problem breaking slow when you have a horse that we've seen run twice, and 50% of the time she's broken a little bit slowly. So I'm going to creep towards the outside with the 5 Doro Street. I think she's interesting in here. She didn't run particularly well last time from a speed figure standpoint, but that race completely fell apart, and she set the pace.
Jonathan, stay plugged in. You're going to want to hear this.
No, what I want to say, and I appreciate what Jonathan's saying, and he's right. Listen, there are some horses, as you know, that are big pets of mine. They're usually sort of underappreciated horses. My problem with Songbird was that she was terrific. And she was a really, really super, super talented horse. A rarity, a kind of horse that, they don't come along very often, obviously. But I heard people saying she's the best 3-year-old filly of all time. She couldn't have held a candle to Rachel Alexander, who had just run a few years earlier. And I objected to some of the hype. There was a little bit too much hype going on with her. She was absolutely terrific. But there were other good horses, and I just felt like people went overboard on her, and that's why in those situations, I tend to become, the negative voice.
You got defensive a little bit.
Yeah, because Rachel Alexander, anybody that's even sane, would never put in or the ruffians they were talking about, or the go for wands. She didn't run. You looked at her. She didn't run numbers that made her an all-time great. She was burying her opposition, and she was dramatically better than the divisions that she was in. She was a tremendous racehorse, but I thought that sometimes people were a little over the top on her, so I tend to go a little over the top the other way. That's who I am. I'm a parade rainer. I don't think it's a bad thing to have somebody that's a little bit of a dissenting voice. You need to have everybody agreeing.
No.
I mean, you and I certainly have our share of disagreements about things, and I think for these shows it's good to have a disagreement.
I agree. Didn't help.
I don't agree with you, but no. Listen, and she won all the time, and she was terrific. She really was.
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah. Listen, you like to bet against those horses as much as I do. Who are you kidding over here?
But still,
you just hide it better than I do.
There's a few that I really become fans of. It was fun. That summer when she showed up for the Alabama and that streak was on the line. That made that day something that went beyond sort of horse racing.
Well, right, and what Jonathan said is correct. There are horses that capture people's imagination. I always felt that, was it an East Coast thing with Rachel versus Zenyatta, East Coast, West Coast? Sure. I think the East Coast, West Coast thing is fun. I love the Sunday Silence Easy Goer thing. We all dig our heels in the East Coast. Sunday Silence was a better horse because he had tactical speed, and that's why. But Easy Goer, there were two. Those were two all-time great horses.
I think it's fun, too.
It's
East
fun.
Coast, West Coast.
Yeah.
Thing. My thing is the East Coast people let it blind them, which is my
Well, the
problem
West
with
Coast
it.
people do, too. As you know, you only said that.
No,
You're
that's a fact,
laughing.
what I just
you
said.
said yes. You know that the West, but it's fun. It's fun. It makes the game better. The game should be about disagreements and arguing. People are betting their money. There are huge money on the line here with people that don't agree with each other. Why should we all agree? Yeah. It's a fun conversation. Racing is better, though, when people love Zenyatta, when people are pouring out. That day with Rachel in the Woodward is maybe the greatest day ever in racing in my entire life.
By
right.
the way.
An incredible day of racing, and it was all about one horse. That's great stuff.
We're set for the 7th, so Daughter of Songbird, the favorite, Magical Song, start number 3. First start of her 3-year-old campaign. Here we go. Jim Byers the call.
It will be Dogtown Diva. Mile and a 16th. 7th at Oaklawn. They're in the gate. And they're off. Doro Street breaks straight on top. Exponential Star on the inside second. No Guilt is third. Then up the inside, Magical Song in the pink moving into 4th. A little good news, the gray is out there in 5th. Just outside of Magic Bubbles. Then the back two are Unstable Princess and Dogtown Diva as they move on to the backstretch. The speedy Doro Street with the advantage here, 2.5 lengths to Exponential Star and No Guilt. 2.5 farther back, and Magical Song has found a spot at the rail, 7 or 8 lengths off the lead. And just outside of her is Magic Bubbles, and from there, straggling in behind them early on, A Little Good News, quite far back to Unstable Princess and Dogtown Diva. Into the far turn, chasing Doro Street and Christian Torres, leading it by 3. Exponential Star remains tracking in second, followed to the inside by Magical Song, and to the outside by No Guilt. No Guilt remains in third. And to the outside comes Magic Bubbles. Meanwhile, Magical Song has been left behind in 5th, and she is being pushed on by Ricardo Santana to keep up. And Magical Song is 5 or 6 lengths off the lead here, and all in as they come to the top of the stretch. Up on the outside, Exponential Star is going to the lead. Doro Street to the inside appears to have had enough. She's in the second flight now with No Guilt and Magic Bubbles. And down the middle of the racetrack is Unstable Princess. It's Exponential Star. Isaac Castillo with the lead here. 18-1. Unstable Princess is going to chase her home second. Magic Bubbles is third, and No Guilt fourth.
Exponential Star at 18-1. Start number 2, stretching out for the first time. Lindsay Schultz, 10 Strike Racing.
Did a little bit of running in her debut. You got a big price as they were just looking at 2 horses basically in this race. And she ran a very good race. She stalked the 5 Doro Street. I think she's a bit of a runoff. It felt like Torres was just sort of trying to harness her speed, and she just kind of got away from him. Nice performance, nice job by Lindsay Schultz getting this horse to improve second time out. She was a dominant winner of this race, and Magical Song. I mean, he can cut her back in distance, and maybe that'll help, but she was awful today.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's too bad.
Something must have just gone wrong because her debut was so good.
And I think there.
Yeah, I think Brad will cut her back. I think he has to at this point, right? He has to try. Maybe he'll go to Keeneland where she ran so well, but at this point, she's extraordinarily disappointing.
Nightcap. New York 6 furlongs, New York bred maiden special Empire Sky Dirt debut back in January. Got a big figure compared to this group.
She did. She might be a better turf horse, but she's good in the dirt.
15-1 tiebreaker.
Yeah. This was one I liked last time. Good pick.
On the ledge, ran second at this level last start.
I think she comes out of a race that's pretty good, but she was on a good rail.
Figures aren't big. 3-year-old debut coming up, but faced a good one last time out.
I like her. I think she could be the speed of the speed. I like her to wire this field.
Superb surprise, some flashy drills, and the Dam 7-time winner produced 3 multiple winners.
Yeah, but also a lot of horses that can't run at all, and this horse not take. This horse is getting bet, huh?
It produced multiple stakes winners, super surprise.
Has some good work, yeah.
A 7-time winner, a 9-time winner.
This horse is bet. Maybe it's the workouts, though.
Central Station, Heeman Harkey rider change.
This horse is not bet for a reason.
And Stone Cold Warrior on the outside.
Ibid.
We skipped over Scherzando, the 2.
Steve Bix, DT Sables.
4-1 right now. Major player in here. Let's go down to Maggie.
He's also 0 for 12. Lucky number 13 on St. Patrick's Day. I don't know. With Scherzando, number 2 in here, he does get the ultimate equipment change. As he comes back at gelding, it's lightened him up slightly, making him a little bit more subdued in his demeanor. He looks fine, but there are 2 other horses in here that just look, I don't want to say exponentially better, but I'd just be surprised if the 4 or 5 don't win here. And let's talk about the long layoff that we see number 5, 10 Cent Town, coming back from 2 second-place efforts as an early 2-year-old, and he has really grown and matured physically. He always had a really strong hind end to him, and it's still there. But he also looks incredibly fit coming back off the bench and is sharp as well for this return to the races. I really like what I'm seeing from him. I'll take him at 7-2, but I would not be surprised if number 4 on the ledge wins here. Last time he ran a much improved race. He was so much more professional, showing some speed with those blinkers going on last time, but I still questioned his overall fitness, and today he is really tucked up and defined. He looks like a racehorse now, so I think it's between the 4 and 5, but let's take a look, Greg, at that first-time starter, number 6, Superb Surprise. Yes, a full brother 2, super surprise, multiple New York bred stakes winner. I mean, he's okay. he just looks like he's going to need a race. He just doesn't look as fit as these horses who have experience. So, and two, he was really laid back in the paddock for a horse that has some quick breezes coming in, and he still might show that speed when they spring the latch. He definitely wasn't acting, though, in these prelims like he would. Greg?
All right, Maggie, thank you. Meanwhile, the favorite, Empire Sky, concerned we haven't seen this horse since January 12th, that good dirt race in the dirt debut. That was January 12th. Doesn't come back and work again until February 8th. Then has a work the next week, February 8th to February 14th, and then another gap.
It's a little odd, and especially getting a horse back that's done well on the turf. It's almost like they waited for turf season, even though the best figure the horse ever ran was the dirt race last time out. Obviously, you would think something went wrong, but maybe they looked and said, you know what? She's been in training, running races for 6 months straight. Let's give her a little time, play a race next year. I don't know. It's a reasonable question. I keep saying she. Even Steve Bickley yelled at me. I do it all the time. Sorry.
2-1 favorite, Empire Sky. So Kendrick will ride from the rail. First 5 came on turf and then really stepped up on dirt, but the time away has missed some works. And all our analysts agree, a lot of weight on the 5.
I like the 5. Yeah, that's a problem. Poor
Off
thing.
since late July, Saratoga against Acoustic Ave, who's turned into a nice horse. At least had a really nice late 2-year-old campaign as well. We'll see what happens here in the nightcap. Chris Griffin with the call.
Central Station just a little reluctant to load here. 2 left. On the ledge, Stone Cold Warrior to the outside. Stone Cold Warrior moves forward. Goes in. All in line. All set. And they're off. Stone Cold Warriors got early speed in the far outside, but they line up on the front end. Also in the mix is going to be 10 Cent Town. Hard Cent is on the ledge. It's no easy leads. Is on the ledge, wants the front, will get there, but had to work. On the ledge to the inside of 10 Cent Town. They're now 1-2. In the clear is Central Station, is out towards the far outside with Stone Cold Warrior. The trip comes for Scherzando, who's saving ground towards the inside as they approach 4 furlongs left to go. Empire Sky is towards the back end of the field there with Tiebreaker, and the trailer, Superb Surprise. 22-4 for that pressured opening quarter. It's on the ledge who's got the lead. 10 Cent Town is right there to the outside. Scherzando is now in gear, is looming up 3 wide, and here comes Scherzando after these leaders. Empire Sky found a seam and is following that move as well for Kendrick Carmouche as they get set to reach the top of the stretch. On the ledge is still there. So is 10 Cent Town, and 10 Cent Town now kicks for home. Scherzando is stalling up on the outside, and Empire Sky now gets the split and is coming after the leaders. It's still 10 Cent Town in front for a final furlong. Empire Sky is getting much closer. 10 Cent Town needs the line. Empire Sky is trying one final time up on the outside. 10 Cent Town is almost there for Dylan Davis. 10 Cent Town got it. 10 Cent Town started looking at the wire, gets there first over Empire Sky on the ledge, and Scherzando in 1 minute 13.18 seconds.
10 Cent Town, Empire Sky was coming, but able to fend that one off and break his maiden start number 3.
Yeah, this is a deserving winner because the one got a terrific trip and a terrific ride from Kendrick Carmouche, and 10 Cent Town battled every step of the way on the ledge, who just caved in late and ran very well.
Big day for this sire late on the card here in New York. Midtown Lights as well.
You just can't keep those Reedsdales down?
Yeah.
I'm not even familiar with that horse. Are you?
Not many are, yeah. I mean, 2 Reedsdales
Yeah, it's a
win on
good
the card.
call by you, Greg. I would never have seen that. Very good call.
5-1, 4-2, 10 Cent Town. Long time to wait for this 3-year-old debut. It's worth the wait.
Scherzando and Chris Griffin, our caller, picked up on it right away in the backstretch of getting the trip. I mean, he looked like Gin. He looked like Gin, and he just ran out of a little, coming off a layoff, probably needed one. So, you know, it's a tough day, couple days for my friend Steve Vick. He went to Colgate. They got blown out yesterday by Texas, and then Scherzando disappointed him a little here. Ran well on the turf, though. He can get back on the turf next time.
Tomorrow's a new day. 5-1, 4-2 in the nightcap. Well, the price is coming up 2-1 on 10 Cent Town, who did go off your slight favorite in the finale. We're going to take a timeout. Coming up on Saturday in the Essex Handicap, Dwayne Lucas with Last Samurai, Razorback winner, looking for a third-graded stakes win at Oaklawn this weekend.
Whatever you use to predict future stallion success, breathe slowly and gaze at the desert's first great championship race. Curlin won it. So did Street Cry, Arrogate, and now, in a time even faster than Arrogate's, Mystic Guide. The cold hard fact is, after this, he was rated the best horse in the world. Mystic Guide. New to Darley.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
Eclipse champion Blaine, a proven sire with over 15% lifetime stakes horses. His recent top runners include graded stakes winner and Kentucky Derby hopeful Litigate.
Litigate going to go on to win it here.
As well as Kentucky Oaks hopeful Wet Paint. Also an emerging broodmare sire, his stakes-producing daughters include the dam of Eclipse champion and Kentucky Derby favorite Forte.
Forte to win the Breeders' Cup Domino.
Blaine, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back with you on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage. Valley, SoCal, San Diego as well. It's brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. We have an inquiry here in the nightcap. So 10 Cent Town did come out and bump the one Empire Sky very, very late. But before that, Empire Sky was getting in ever so slightly.
Yeah, I'm glad they look at this, but they shouldn't take this horse down. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion, but because you say, let's, we need to show more of it, guys. Can we show going way?
Go back a little
Can you go back
bit
farther?
more if we can.
Well, if we can't go back farther, then we
Okay.
can't. And by the way, did that horse really do much there anyway? It's not like anything really happened there, right?
This is what the stewards are looking
But the
at
one
right
is
now.
leading on him right now. I mean, I'm sorry, without seeing more of the head on, you can't really see it. I feel like Empire Sky is the one that came in to sort of initiate the contact if you go back farther.
I agree.
And I don't see how you could take the horse down.
All right, so we got it now from farther back. That's Dylan Davis.
Okay.
Concerned, obviously.
Light blue hat is the 5. The 1 is the horse outside. Okay.
So, right there, maybe the 1 comes in a little, but then the bump.
Isn't that right at the wire?
Right at the wire, yeah. Right before.
We don't take
I
horses
believe.
down for bumps right at the wire. Dylan Davis got fined $2,000 recently for something that really surprised me. So I don't know if they're looking at him, but it seems like, keep in mind that wire is that red thing. And I know you don't have any depth perception, but there's been nothing here. I don't see how they could take this horse down, but I'm not a steward here, and nothing would shock me.
So, Dylan was coming out to meet the challenge of this horse, and then there was a bump.
There was something. I don't know.
And it was right before the wire.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to. I can see why there was something there, and it was close. I would leave the horse up, but I'm a little biased. I like the 5, so we'll see.
So both riders, they're going to make their case. So
I'm leaving soon.
You don't think
inquiries? No change.
Looks like sign has come down, so it will.
Do you hear the good news though?
Not stand.
Not only did they leave it up, but Maggie's coming on.
Well, that's good news for everybody.
I wasn't arguing with any of it. It's good news for me. It's good news for you.
5-1-4-2. That result is going to stand.
Are you sure it's good news for Maggie? You're just assuming that she's happy to come sit with
me. We had a great time together
Whatever.
yesterday.
I would just bring it up. You're just assuming. That's
one of the better shows of the year, I think, actually.
Maybe the best. Well, I don't know. She was on once before with you, so that could have been one of those two.
We're going to take a time out. So goodbye to Andy. We'll see you tomorrow. We got a big day, obviously. We got the Cicada here, but then we got Essex Handicap, the Whitmore at Oaklawn. You're going to miss Butterbean.
Feel free to call. You and
Maggie.
Maggie.
Stick around and watch. You're welcome to. Hope everyone's going to stay with us at home. We have a good one coming up. Feature next from Oaklawn. Butterbean coming back off a long layoff. Stay tuned.
Every hair, every muscle, every contour, every pulse. In the juvenile.
Essential quality have won.
In the Belmont.
Essential quality has won the Belmont Stakes.
Well named.
Would you believe that champions weren't measured by rings, but by a crown? That the history books were written on dirt? That the greatest of all time was a horse?
He is moving like a tremendous machine.
Experience the magic at this year's Belmont Stakes as we honor the 50th anniversary of Secretariat's legendary Triple Crown Triumph. Join the celebration at Belmont Park on Saturday, June 10th. Tickets on sale now at BelmontStakes.com.
Gunrunner is the sire of 6 Grade 1 winners from his first crop. He leads all stallions standing in North America by percentage of Grade 1 winners, percentage of Grade 1 stakes horses, percentage of stakes horses, and percentage of stakes winners. Owner Breeder Magazine wrote, Three Chimneys is home to one of the most exciting young stallions in North America, one that is already eliciting comparisons with Danzig and Mr. Prospector. Gunrunner.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
We're back at America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage. Good to have you with us. We got the feature coming up next at Oaklawn in this Distaff division. With me on the desk, Maggie Wolfendale.
Hello.
You're just in time for the main event here in Hot Springs.
We have two good races on the card coming up. We will have the return of Butterbean. We'll see if Kenny McPeak can pull things off 2 days in a row, as we saw Smile Happy come back with a huge performance yesterday. But before that, he was 1 for 31. So now he's 2 for 32 with horses coming off 6-month-plus layoffs and going around of ground.
Butterbean's going to take a lot of money, and her resume stands out against this field. She's even money right now. She hasn't raced since Coaching Club American Oaks, won by Nest last summer at Saratoga. That was in July.
I'm surprised she's this short of a price, Greg. And I know she fell on her face. And to boot, she was also just overmatched in that Grade 1 CCA Oaks, won by your eventual champion 3-year-old filly in Nest. But before that, she was a Grade 3 winner, so she obviously was getting good. Something happened that day. She does get to return to the races with Lasix. We'll see if she's ready to go, but that's, again, a very short price to take on a horse off of this kind of layoff, in my opinion.
She's cold as ice, kicks off the post parade at 10-1.
Yep, and there is your favorite, Butterbean. Looks good, though. I got to give her credit.
She'd won 3 in a row before that, Coaching Club American Oaks. Here's the 3, Low King's Princess.
Yeah, she is the one of 2 in here that should be at least forwardly placed, and I'm sure she's relieved to get back to Oaklawn, where 2 of her 3 wins have come.
Now, this looks like the speed of the speed. Speedometer stretching out.
Yeah, Steve Asmussen off a 6-month-plus layoffs, sprint to route, 3 for 20.
Nick Juarez for Asmussen. Here's Traverse, trained by Riley Mott.
I really like the effort she comes in here off of. Yes, she's going to have to find another best effort, but maybe she's on the upswing, Greg.
Homebred for Claiborne, Traverse. And then it's 50 Shade Time outside, Ricardo Santana Jr.
She was not good behind Traverse last time out. Just a really kind of even/dull effort, in my opinion.
She's faced Clairiere. She was second, a distant second behind Hidden Connection, who had one time as a 2-year-old, probably more so. Big expectations for her.
Yeah, no, I'm not denying the fact that she has faced some tough company. I just wish her last effort was better.
Well, let's look at Butterbean, her shining moment in that Grade 3 Iowa Oaks victory.
Yeah, over there at Prairie Meadows. And, I mean, they got ambitious, and you would have to think that something obviously happened to her coming in off of the layoff as well in that CCA Oaks. And like I said, maybe she was just getting better. And if she can come back to just one of these 2 stakes wins types of races, she's much the horse to beat here. And I think people are banking on that, which I can't deny the fact that if she runs those races, she's going to win. But I just thought maybe there's a chance for her to be upset with the horse that has recency in Traverse.
7 of her 9 starts, she has been first or second. Butterbean, short price, long layoff to overcome. Let's go to Poladuca.
As you can see, I'm in the St. Patrick's spirit, and I want to give a shout out to Debbie and Gail Abrahamson that actually gave me this tie. They watch America's Day at the Races every day. And Greg, Gail is your favorite, and Debbie is Maggie's favorite. And I'm sitting there going, wait a second, why are you giving me the tie? And I'm going to talk it to the 2 people you like more. But you know what? I'm in the St. Patrick's Day spirit, so Debbie and Gail, I hope you're enjoying the show, and a happy St. Patrick's Day. To get to the feature race here, it's really tough to figure out with Butterbean because, here's a horse that when the horse did get blinkers or Lasix, completely improved. But, her 2 great efforts were at Prairie Meadows. Is that the horse the course that she likes. Now, her last race, she was off Lasix against Nest. Now, would it have mattered? Probably not, obviously. But maybe she would have run a little bit better. Now off the layoff. The racetrack is kind of playing towards her. It looks like you can launch a little bit. If it wasn't, the 4 looks like the horse that's going to get loose in here, I would think. I mean, Speedometer should get to the front end and control it. Now, whether this filly by Tappet, and I say filly by Tappet going long for the first time, in the second career start, if you have a filly by Tappet, are you going short on the grass? That worries me about the 4, about getting the distance. And then to come to Traverse, the 5, Traverse was actually one of my better plays when he ran last time out, and he got an absolutely perfect trip. Now, can he win again? Most definitely. But I just can't trust him at that price. I think Butterbean will run a big race, but I think this race is really wide open. I'm a little confused. I'm not in love with Traverse. I just have a feeling Butterbean might just get the job done here, Greg.
First of all, Debbie, Gail, thank you both for watching.
Yes,
That was very kind.
It was very kind, and thank you for hooking Paulie up with some St. Patty's Day green, because now that Andy has left the show, as you said, it's like Smurf Day between you and I and our navy blue.
I was telling you off air that I am Irish, so I'm okay. I'm clear.
Yeah, well, see, I chalk it up to being married to an Englishman for not being in the St. Patty's Day mood. But then Tom was wearing green today, so I'm really going to have to give him heck for that.
See, wow, 8-5, now 3-2. This is closing the gap, Traverse, with Butterbean.
Yeah, I know. Paul brings up some interesting points, especially with number 4 Speedometer. Why has it taken so long to get this daughter of Tappet to go long, and then suddenly they decide to do it off of a layoff? There's too much about her that doesn't make sense, right? Which sometimes leads to a victory, but I can't make sense of it, so I can't take her.
Let's get Jonathan's thoughts here as we get set for the feature.
Well, I don't have any green on. Might surprise some people. Also not Irish. Maybe you didn't know that at home. I don't necessarily like the 2 Butterbean. This horse is 0 for 3 off a layoff, comes in off of a break, just doesn't run well fresh. And it's a horse that comes from out of it. I don't like horses that come from out of it at short prices anyways, especially horses that haven't run since last summer. I'm going to try to beat the 2 Butterbean. I think the 5 Traverse makes a little bit more sense. A much more tactical horse will be way in front of Butterbean. Butterbean will have to try to run down Traverse. Seems to be training well. Ran well on debut after probably needing the race, then comes back and wins second time out. It's an old adage, and I don't even know if it still applies anymore, the way that the modern racehorse is raced. But 3rd off the layoff is supposed to be kind of that big performance, and this would be Traverse's 3rd off a layoff. I tried to get cute with the 4 Speedometer, who has a fast number 2 back, but that's the only fast number. So then when it's the only fast number, then you start saying it's probably not a real number. It was earned on a muddy racetrack, and then she comes back and runs on the turf. That was the one I was going to try to get cute with, but I decided to punt. I'm going to take the 5 Traverse.
At 3-2, so it's become really a 2 filly race in here with Butterbean and Traverse. And Speedometer, just a hard one to figure out. You got to think, she's been with Steve Asmussen this whole time, that she's not shown the ability that he would anything to him, that she could go this round of ground.
Yeah, and as JK pointed out, that race 2 back, it was on a wet track against turf horses. For the most part, it was an off-the-turf race, and when that happens, you just tend to kind of toss those races out because they just typically don't hold up.
And she's quicker than the 3, but the 3 can't let her get completely away. It's got to try and at least put a little heat on her, right?
Yeah, and look, Traverse is projected to sit the right trip. She's going to sit right behind. You would think those 2, especially with having that outside post. Look, she broke actually on top last time out, but was content to let the horse that set the fractions go on in front of her. She kind of switched off the rail, sat perched right off that one's hip, and was just much the best in the end. Yeah, Butterbean, at the end of the day, might be a better horse, but this is the time to maybe take advantage of Butterbean's weakness, and that weakness being the layoff. And now they've flip-flopped in odds.
Wow. Going with recency and Traverse. Daughter of Street Sense, the homebred for Claiborne Farm. The 6-5 favorite right now. She's won 3 of her last 4. She has not earned, but it's worth bringing up too, and I believe that, was it JK or Paulie might have brought it up, those big figures that she earned that made you think, maybe this is a serious filly in this last year 3-year-old filly division. They both came at Prairie Meadows. So it makes you question it a little bit.
Right. And you see the B there that is denoting Butte, that she ran on Butte. So yeah, that there's question marks there. And how could a filly with the name Butterbean really be that good?
It's pretty good in the Iowa Oaks.
That's why, because it was Iowa. They like their Butterbeans.
Long time away for Butterbean. For Kenny McPeak, it's Traverse, though, the favorite, the 5. Here we go with the feature, co-feature. Jim Byers, the call.
And they're off. She's cold as ice. Slow getting away from there. Speedometer showing her speed. Traverse to the outside is second. And Little King's Princess third. It's 50 Shade Time sits outside in fourth. Tucking in is Butterbean. She's fifth around that first turn. Actually now sharing the trailer spot with She's Cold as Ice. As they move on to the backstretch, solitary leader, the speedy Speedometer. And she is sped off here by 2.5 lengths. To Traverse, Little King's Princess, it's 50 Shade Time, 3 deep around that first turn and on to the backstretch. And then comes She's Cold as Ice, and Butterbean on the comeback trail is trailing the field in 6th. She's about 7 lengths from the lead of Speedometer. Midway up the backstretch here, she shows the way by a length to Traverse from the outside, and Lil King's Princess in the orange. Now, Lil King's Princess moving through a gap on the inside. As they move into the far turn, the finish line, the 16th pole, it's Speedometer by ahead to Lil King's Princess. Traverse stays right up with them on the outside. And then a gap of some 3 lengths to She's Cold as Ice, and it's 50 Shade Time. Nothing yet from Butterbean at the back end of the field as they come to the head of the short stretch. And Traverse is sidled up right alongside Speedometer. Traverse goes to the lead. Then Speedometer, Lil King's Princess. It's 50 Shade Time. And Butterbean down the center as they come to the final 16th. Traverse responding well here to Isaac Castillo and drawing clear and moving on to a solitary victory. Butterbean up for second. And then came Little King's Princess and Speedometer.
Traverse, 4 wins now in the last 5 starts, and it was the filly with recency with the win.
And to the tactical advantage. As JK pointed out, Butterbean just doesn't have any early speed. She actually broke well, but she just can't keep pace early, and she'll get up for second here, which is good to build upon, but she was a well-beaten second in the end.
Traverse, 6-5 favorite. The recency edge, the tactical edge, and the win. And Riley Mott, well done. Isaac Castillo aboard here for Claiborne Farm.
Yeah, congratulations to them. And it's good to see Riley have a nice horse possibly in his barn. I mean, this one is Claiborne bred and owned through and through. I'll never get tired of seeing those iconic gold silks shriek under the line, and it does feel as though she's taken another step forward as she does march through these conditions.
Did you see the final time?
I missed it, Greg. I'm not gonna lie, they were going a tepid pace for what you can see at Oaklawn. 138 flat.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe bigger and better things in the future for Traverse off this performance. She just keeps winning. 4 wins now again, last 5 starts. Takes his co-feature on the Friday card. Another good one coming up to close things out. And of course, Saturday, 2 big graded stakes on the card, including the Essex Handicap, Classic Causeway for Kenny McPeak, 4-year-old returnee, getting back to dirt for the first time since June of last summer.
Here comes Malathon. Here comes Clarier on the outside, and it's got to be Clarier. Nest, much the best. She won by better than 10 lengths.
And Elite Power gets up to win the sprint. Outside, it's Malathon coming to the wire. Who's it going to be? Here's the wire. Oh, the wish has come true. That one's for you, Cody.
Bet the racing action at Aqueduct, Oaklawn, and Santa Anita to score a $15 bonus each Sunday in March. Bet $50 on each track to take home $15, win or lose. Opt in at NYRABets.com. The Cross Country Pick 5 combines the best racing from New York with top races from around the country in one bet. Find it in your track menu and play every Saturday. Races are posted weekly at NYRA.com/crosscountry.
Introducing a stallion, as top class as they come. In 22 career starts, he won or placed in 12 graded stakes, competing in 15 grade ones, earning over $1.7 million. His undisputed speed is evidenced by 7 100-plus Spire speed figures, a 3-time grade 1 winner, Raging Bull.
Now more than ever, it's time to get with the program. When shopping for your next race prospect, consider that New York breds start with an advantage. Our New York breds run for serious green. At Saratoga Race Meet, New York bred maidens run for up to $88,000. New York bred allowance horses run for up to $100,000. And New York bred owners can collect awards of up to $20,000 per horse per race. So get back with the program. Seriously.
Back on America's Day of the Races, it's brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alapa. An impressive showing from Traverse. Riley Mott trains for Claiborne Farm. Isaac Castillo rides. Let's head to Paula Duca.
With winning trainer here, Riley Mott of Traverse. And, you know, we were just talking right before the interview. She's really gotten better around 2 turns, Riley.
Yeah, I mean, when Walker and the Claiborne team, sent her my way, the, plan was always to stretch her out, around 2 turns. She's a street sense out of a blame mare, so she's bred up and down for it. And her last 2 have been really strong. In
her last race, I asked you, did you have her fully cranked up? And you said, you know what, she had a race, but she was a lot fitter today, no?
I mean, she ran great, probably arguably better than she did last time. Flesh-wise, she couldn't be doing any better, and she really ran through the wire hard today.
I hate to ask this, and you always want to ask this. What's the next step if she comes out of this race great?
Well, we were, after her last one, we were talking about a black type race, and she was doing so well that we, saw this race and thought we'd put her in, and that worked out well today. But I would say certainly a black type race somewhere.
Well, you got a nice filly on your hands. Congratulations, Riley. Riley Mott getting the job done, and his horses are starting to run here.
So Apple Blossom or Oaklawn handicap?
Stop it, Greg.
460 for the win for Traverse. I kid. That was a nice performance, though, and really, she's going the right way.
And Riley, a practical man. Not only does he don the same name as his father, but there is a lot of Bill in Riley.
Yeah, it's fun to see.
His spitting image and the way he talks, too.
Nightcap coming up. And it's another good one to close things out. 6 furlong sprint, allowance optional claiming field. Dr. Oscar right now, tepid favorite, speed inside.
Such a good race, Greg. And Dr. Oscar, he ran really well behind Sibelius last time out in that Pelican at Tampa. And he was just no match for the favorite that day, but he gave him everything he could handle until the last 16th of a mile.
Were those fractions for real? He was right off of 21 and 2.
Yeah, that's
for an
quick
opening
there.
quarter.
That's quick there, and he broke on top. He got to the lead before Sibelius, and he was just not as good in the end, but still, he's fast.
Meanwhile, the big one coming up this week, it's our ABR Race of the Week. We'll see it on Saturday in the older horse division, Grade 3 Essex Handicap. And a field of 10 will line up, including Dwayne Lucas and his Razorback winner, Last Samurai, the 5-year-old who earned the biggest figure of his career in that win.
$1.6 million in earnings, Greg. I mean, other than the venerable 10-year-old rated R superstar, he is the most accomplished in this field, and I think he is the best horse. He projects to get the right kind of setup, and not even that he necessarily got a setup last time. They actually went fairly slow for this level of horse, going back to that Razorback, and as you see, the early leaders finishing 1-2 here, or excuse me, 2-3, and he was just able to overcome that. And he's a horse that loves Oaklawn Park. He is thriving right now. He looks tremendous in the flesh, and I just think he's so much the horse to beat.
Here's the coach on his Razorback winner.
Been training really, really strong. Again, he seems to have an affinity for this racetrack, and he has done everything we've asked him to do, so we expected him to run a big one, but in that competition, you're never overly confident. You're always wondering if you're going to get that big effort, but he gave it to us, and we might be headed in the right direction for the future. The outside post may not help his cause for Saturday. I always think that when you go 2 turns here, that first turn comes up awful quick. And so given a choice, I don't think I'd take the outside post. I think I might take something a little further down in.
Unfortunately, got to deal with a hand that is dealt Paul Asa. Last Samurai, 23rd start of his career as a 5-year-old, runs the best race of his life. What kind of confidence do you have that he can do that again?
Well, I don't know. It seems like that this racetrack, Greg, if you run well over it, you've come back and you've run well over it again. And he was just dominant. He blitzed that field last time. He gave him just no chance at all. I mean, he didn't really get out of the gate at all, but Christian Torres was loaded with run. And West Willpower is a nice little sort. So, and he won with, like, some extra in the tank. His issue is he sometimes will get left in the gate and has a little bit much to do, but in a full field, I think he's just more potent. And I understand what Wayne is saying, draw in the 10-hole, you don't want to be hung out, but he does get Christian Torres, so hopefully he can save some ground. It is a salty, salty group, and I can't wait for the race tomorrow. Brad Cox bringing in Forza Dioro. I think Tawny Port could be a long shot type of player. There's just so many different kinds of ways you can go in this race, but I think Maggie's right. This race goes through Last Samurai just off that last win. It was crushing. Even though, Greg, if he regresses a tiny bit and goes to like a 99 or 100 or drops down, you and I use the throwagraphs just a tiny bit, he's still right in the mix.
He is, which makes him really scary. Can he get a trip under Christian Torres? He's going to have a lot of pressure on him.
Right. Well, we're also going the 9 furlongs here, so he gets a little bit more of an opportunity from that outside post to sort himself out. And, this division is crying out for somebody. We lost a superstar of a generation to the breeding shed, which fine, in Flightline. So, and you think about horses like Charge It that we were hoping to see come back, Taba even, they've been disappointments. So I think we're all crying out for somebody to kind of assert themselves as the dominant figure in this handicap division. And for me, I feel like it could be a 5-year-old like Last Samurai.
Well, we have a returning 4-year-old who won a couple of Derby preps early on in the year, competed in the Kentucky Derby, 78-1 in that race. Didn't work out, and actually got a Grade 1 win on grass. He's been on grass the last 5 starts. Now it's back to dirt for his 4-year-old return.
He's a perplexing sort, Greg, because when you think he's not going to run well, he runs well. What surface is best for him? Even what distance is best for him? Does he want more? Does he want less than this 9 furlongs coming back? And I mean, I know it's not necessarily turf season, but there is turf in some areas around the country, including at fairgrounds. There's not much, but that's where he's been training. I have always been under the notion that it's tougher to come back going, especially a distance of ground, on the dirt than it is the turf. So I would have loved to see him maybe come back as a 4-year-old doing something on the turf, but the argument could be made that in the end, maybe he is a better horse on the dirt.
Tough spot to come back
Very.
in against this group in a horse like your Razorback winner. Some other names in here. It's a weird race. Not a lot of big-time star power, but a lot of interesting storylines. Another one, Forza d'Oro.
Right.
Horse that we thought was getting really, really good and might at one point seize ownership of that older horse division. It didn't pan out, but he's coming back now.
He's shown signs of brilliance many times in his career, and I've always been a big fan of his, but boy, does he have trouble staying on the racetrack. He's a 6-year-old now. He's going out for his 3rd trainer in his career in Brad Cox, but he's run, albeit 2/3, but 2 good efforts, some of his best that could indicate he could get back to that triple-digit buyer type of territory. So, yes, I think, while I love Last Samurai, I think he's the most intriguing player in this field.
We're going to have it for you live. Grade 3 Essex Handicap on tomorrow's card, 5:54 Eastern Time. Part of back-to-back stakes on that card, including the Grade 3 Whitmore. We're going to take a timeout. When we return, remembering the great one, Secretariat. 50-year anniversary coming up. It's going to be a special Belmont this year, no question. Stay with us. We'll return.
Class and athleticism.
What we're seeing from Audible across the board are very athletic shapes.
They've been good sized, great walkers.
Strong, muscular bodies, looked like they would have speed and quickness and precocity.
They look like they'd be early enough, but they have the feel to me of a 2-turn horse.
Which is really what you want to see from the freshman stallion.
Secretariat is 4th, and Actuality finds room on the rail. The field straightens away in the stretch. Impecunious has the lead by a head. Actuality 2nd. Between horses, Secretariat, and on the outside, Champagne Charlie. 4 of them across the track with 1/8 of a mile to the finish. Secretariat getting the lead. Champagne Charlie on the outside 2nd. Toward the rail, it's Actuality. 70 yards from the finish, it's Secretariat in front.
Dave Johnson with the call there in 1973 Bayshore, and 3 days before this win for Secretariat. Never would have played him. 3 furlong move and 32-3. A lot of people thought he left his race on the racetrack in that workout.
Old
Not
school.
the case.
Old school blowout, Greg.
Wow.
I mean, I obviously was not there to see it, but I would imagine that the exercise rider was pulling him up right after he blitzed under the line in that 32 and change. But a brave effort here for Secretariat as he was coming back and making his 3-year-old debut there.
Penny Shenry said, having major doubts. They'd won the Derby and the Belmont the year before. Riva Ridge, are we going to be able to do this again, really? There were doubts, I guess, about Bold Rulers not being able to run that far. He was okay going long.
He was also very good on the turf. Not only did he have the championship 3-year-old year, the horse of the year, he's also champion turf horse that year, winning the Man of War as well. So, incredible horse. And it, you know, that turf kind of affinity shown through in some of his progeny, too.
Can't wait to get back to Belmont just to see the mural. That's one of my favorite things
The
at Belmont
mural?
Park. Well, inside, the picture, the
A
photo.
Secretariat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, the murals are here, Greg.
Test of the Champion,
yeah.
50th anniversary of the great Secretariat. You want to be there, be part of the action. June 10th. Tickets are on sale now, belmontstakes.com. Don't miss out. Still got another one coming up at Oaklawn.
I think Todd Pletcher wins another Belmont this year.
With?
Tapit Trice. With another Tapit.
Yep. Be probably an early choice by many with that sire.
Yep.
6 furlongs, allowance optional claiming race to close things out in Hot Springs. We talked briefly about Dr. Oscar Skelly getting some support as well. Skelly is extremely quick last time out on that gate-to-wire win. Steve Asmus, Ricardo Santana Jr. back aboard as well. We'll have the post-parade for you when we come back. Contentious field to close things out on this Friday card.
War Dancer. The momentum continues with recent stakes winners on turf and dirt. Dancing Buck going wire to wire in the Grade 3 Belmont Turf.
Dancing Buck has opened up on the field. It is Dancing Buck by a half-dozen lengths.
And 2-year-old filly War Saichi with a wire-to-wire win in the Ladyfinger Stakes.
War Saichi asserted her authority immediately out of the starting gate, and she has not relinquished the lead.
War Dancer, the #1 third-crop turf sire in North America. Proud to stand in New York.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back on America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage. Regional networks in SoCal with us as well. Greg Wolf, Maggie Wolfendale, Paula Duca on site in Hot Springs, and the finale's coming up here. This allowance optional claiming sprint at 6 furlongs. Going to get to our post parade here in a moment. Dr. Oscar has been favored throughout to this point.
So wait a minute, is Wolf Irish?
German-Irish.
Okay. See, Wolfendale's English.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
But you have a small portion of Irish there, no?
There has to be somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, I think on my mom's grandmother's side.
So you don't need the green. There you go.
There we go. I love the way you're thinking.
Here's Dr. Oscar. So we talked about an incredibly quick pace. This one was right behind in that Pelican last start.
Well, I think we're going to have an incredibly quick pace again here, Greg. And unfortunately for Dr. Oscar, he's drawn to the inside. Never the place to be. I do respect him, though.
Well, this guy's going to be part of that hot pace early as well. He is quick. Skelly.
Now, look, he runs with that extension blinker, and he's almost kind of a horse that's a little on the uncontrollable side, and you just got to let him go.
Huge effort off a layoff for life. It's already just missed against Cogburn last start.
Huge effort, and I feel like that could be a key race.
Mrs. Beans faced a good Archie bred named Garhole last couple of starts. Makes him a player.
Yeah, chased him, but he came up a bit flat, I thought, in that last race. Could have needed it.
Ruggs went by the 5.
Yeah, he looks like a fringe player at best. He's long from his best.
Arkansas bred Waylon Springs, the 6.
You know, it was his third start off of a layoff last time. He got really washy in the paddock. I was out there. But it was his best race since coming back off the layoff. Maybe he's trending in the right direction.
Edge to Albizu went by and who he's faced simply. Spankster edge to edge last couple of starts. And here's the 8XL.
Yeah, Albizu is one that you got to pay attention to, especially if you think things are going to heat up. Don't really like Excel. The Improbable Journey went by. Another horse that could be forward.
And here's Ram, Dwayne Lucas, cutting back.
Let's see if he can stay the course as he bolted last time.
Vulcan, the 11 is a 4-time winner.
Yeah, it doesn't look on par with these, though, Greg.
And drawing in from the also eligible list off since March of last year, this is Ghost Lore.
This feels like a let's get him back to the races and build upon the effort, as he looks like one who's much more successful going longer.
Took him 17 starts to break his maiden, Ghost Lore, the 13, and he won right back.
That's right, yeah. Well, it happens like that, but unfortunately for him, he had to go to the bench after that.
4 minutes to post. Our finale coming up. Let's go to Paul.
Yeah, and this is an interesting finale here because you got the rail horse, Dr. Oscar. Tim Padilla is a sharp trainer. He goes way back Turf Paradise days, and he usually used to shuttle between Turf Paradise and Canterbury. And this is a really fast horse, a Minnesota bred that's been running at Tampa. And you look at the races in Canterbury, they weren't as good as the races at Tampa. This horse has been fast, sort of like his sire, Shackelford. And it looks like Shackelford's, at least his progeny, they like to go to the front end, or they need to go to the front end. But Maggie makes a good point. You know, is he quick enough? And by the way, 108 and change is smoking at Tampa with this horse ran last time. Skelly to 2, can that horse put pressure on the 1 and put at least enough pressure? Improbable Journey, the 9, does have some lick. This horse went 21-4 and only really has one way to go. I don't know if Kelsey Harr will be on the full send there. But when you look at some of the other runners in here, the horse that's going to sit the trip is the 3, hard to come by. I mean, the horse was really good last time. Cogburn is in a big spot tomorrow. I mean, this horse is really have not run one bad race except the race where he got pulled up. And he actually got jammed out of the gate out of that race. I was actually there that day, and he sort of just walked off, and everything was okay. And he came back with an unbelievable effort. Spankster, again, who is, I think, at the number 1 tomorrow in the Essex, came back to win in optional claimer. So I think the 3 is going to be really tough because should get the trip. But if the 1 is as fast as this horse has been running at Tampa and Skelly can't keep up, it might turn into the 1 going around the racetrack. Although if it does heat up, this race could be 3 with the 7 rolling late. And to get to the 4, Mrs. Beans, yes, Mrs. Beans is a man or a horse. I actually liked Mrs. Beans, if it was a sloppy racetrack. This horse had the best number by far on the slop. But now with it drying out, I just don't know if he's good enough. So I'm in this race, guys, 3. And I'll go with, the other horse that didn't look bad, at least turned out. And I know, Maggie, you said might need a race. I think the 13 could hit the board in here. But I like the 3, hard to come by. Actually, an awful lot in here.
Okay, Mrs. Beans is only half a man. He's a gelding.
Why do they name these horses with those names just to throw us? It's not fair to the track announcer. It's not fair to us. Life is Hard, the 3, has become the 2-1 favorite. That was such a big effort off a long layoff. And you say, okay, what if this horse builds off that? He's going to get even better. Everyone's in trouble. But such a hard race, running that big off that kind of a layoff, too. You can regress start number 2.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm worried about. And at 9-5, I'd be willing to take a shot that he does. Doesn't Albizu, maybe he is a cut below. Maybe, Life is Hard and Dr. Oscar, they are kind of legitimate stakes types of horses that can play in stake races. And maybe Albizu, he is just, kind of an upper level allowance horse. But doesn't he have the credentials / even more importantly, get the right setup today?
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Jonathan,
horse racing.
9-5, Life is Hard. Can he move forward off that comeback?
Well, let me take you on this journey of me with my Naira Bets account. I thought to myself, all right, I think I'm going to bet the 3, Life is Hard. He was 3-1. This horse ran well last time. Is right there from a figure standpoint. Doesn't need the lead, can come from out of it. And then I looked at the 1, Dr. Oscar, and I said, wow, this might be a speed of the speed. His pace figures last time were blazing fast. Now he's 7-2. Yeah, maybe I'll get involved there. Oh, my God, but he's got Skelly, the 2 to his outside, who's going to pressure him. All 3 of them are drawn down towards the inside, so they're going to run a little bit early to try to maintain that position. So then I basically changed my mind. I'm not going to bet the 3. I'm not going to bet the 1. I think the 6, Wayland Springs. I hate betting meltdowns. They never happen. I just think this race might fall apart. And the reason I feel that way is because there's legit horses that are talented, and they're legit speed horses in terms of their early pace figures to the inside. Those 3 inside horses are all legit, which means at some point when in maybe a different race when you weren't having to deal with legit horses, you could get a breather. I just don't think that the 1, Dr. Oscar, the 2, Skelly, or the 3, Life is Hard are ever going to get a breather. They're going to get hooked. They're going to hook one another at the quarter pole or the 8th pole. And I just feel like they're going to get a little bit tired late, and that's when I feel like the 6, Wayland Springs, can pick them up. This horse can come from out of it. The horse has been training well. You've got some fast numbers in Wayland Springs past. So I'm gonna pick the 6. If you're agreeing with me or trying to agree with me that this thing might fall apart, I think you need the 6 and the 7. The 6 and the 7, but I'm going to officially go on the record as picking the 6. Hope this thing falls apart.
And it could, with Dr. Oscar and Skelly both drawn right next door to each other in post 1 and 2.
I want to talk a little bit about Skelly, Greg, and the equipment that he wears. Now, 3 starts ago, you see that the blinkers go on, and they immediately put an extension blinker on him, so a blinker completely covering his right outside eye. And unfortunately for them, he drew the rail, and that's never the place to be when you have a horse wearing that for the first time. And he broke a step slow, then he got intimidated. I mean, they can't see anything, so a horse to their outside, they can sense it, they can hear it, they can even smell it probably, but they can't see it, so they're not sure how close it is. So he reacted badly to that. That's why you saw the ease. Now, watching his last 2 efforts with that extension blinker on, he's obviously broken better, but he also just looks like a runoff. Like, you can't touch his mouth. And that poses major issues for Dr. Oscar in here. So I agree with Jonathan. I think we're going to see things come back a bit as far as the pace. Now, I'm trying to get a good look at Wayland Springs there because, like I said last time, he got really washed out when I was there for the February 25th effort, at least from what I can see on the screen, which isn't much. He doesn't look quite as hot, so I would think that's a good sign for him.
Meanwhile, there's Albizu, the 7, who 2 back face edge to edge, who, he's 2-1? No,
yeah,
sorry, he's 4-1.
And
tomorrow's
Whitmore.
grade 3 Whitmore. Spankster, who's 8-1 in that race. That's top competition. He's been dealing with it this meet.
Oh, yeah.
And if there is that hot pace up front, he figures to be certainly one of the ones to benefit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like Albizu here. I think he's the horse to beat. I respect Dr. Oscar for that effort he put in last time. And I don't know. I just feel like dynamically he's up against it. The Skelly to his outside.
9-5. There's the favorite. Life is Hard. Big effort off a long time off. First start since June 5th came early February. Just missed. Will he move backwards? Or can he take a step forward? Yeah, for the Jimmy DeVito barn with Francisco Arrieta. Nightcap from Hot Springs, Jim Byers with the call.
And the last pair, Wheelan Springs and Ghost Lore. Ghost Lore heads forward. Six furlongs. They're in the gate. And they're off. 12 of them out in a perfect line. In that Minnesota speedster, Dr. Oscar on the inside, immediately to the lead. Past Skelly, Life is Hard, Vulcan charging from the outside. And then from the inside, Mrs. Beans is racing into fifth. Ruggs is in between horses in sixth. And to the extreme outside, it's Wheelan Springs, a wide seventh. Improbable Journey in the orange stripes is into eighth. Then Albazoo and Ghost Lore on the outside. Excel and Ram is at the back end of the field. Around the turn, Skelly. Skelly with the lead by a neck. On the inside, Dr. Oscar is racing in second. And then to the outside, as they come for home, it's that long shot Vulcan, followed by Improbable Journey. Ruggs is swinging to the far outside. Mrs. Beans is toward the inside. Albazoo is hugging the rail. Life is Hard is shuffled back. He's angling about 6 wide as Skelly, Ricardo Santana have opened up a 3-length cushion now on Dr. Oscar. And Skelly is coming to the wire powerfully. Dr. Oscar with that quick burst is going to hold on to second. And it was tight for third. It looked like Albazoo was third, but it'll be a 3-way photo along with Mrs. Beans and Life is Hard.
Skelly just dominant. That last race, that huge figure wet track, this time does it on a fast track, 109-2.
I think the Hall of Famer may have entered in the wrong race. With that effort, he should have run in tomorrow's Whitmore, Greg. Huge effort.
Maybe would have produced a similar kind of trip and performance. Wow, that was huge.
Hey, those are fast fractions, too, and he 6-7 lengths in front of the rest.
Wow. 7-2 on Skelly. Back-to-back wins now, and proves that was just not a wet track wonder what he produced on February 25th. We are back tomorrow. We have a long show tomorrow, actually on a 1 Eastern start time. You're going to be kicking things off?
Yes. I will be.
Maggie will be with you to kick it off 1 Eastern. Check your local listings, but we'll see you then. And we're going to go to 6:30 in the evening. We have that Grade 3 Whitmore, the Essex with D. Wayne Lucas, his Razorback winner, trying to go back-to-back and get a third graded stakes win at Oaklawn. Cicada will have Downtown Mischief. Linda Rice, Lady Sheila Stable will try and start the court 3 for 3. Meanwhile, Tejano Twist for Chris Hartman. Hadn't won 3 straight until he ran into Gunite. See if he could put another win streak together, start a new one anew in that Whitmore. And last samurai for D. Wayne. Huge performance last time out. Can he do it again in the Essex? We'll see you tomorrow.